Chapter 991. They were not unconvinced that Murong Qingcheng was ranked higher than them. Furthermore, they did not plan on challenging Murong Qingcheng again in the near future. Although the others had not seen Murong Qingcheng in action, they knew that Murong Qingcheng and Lin Xian had killed the Gold Demon Beast. That was a major event that was recorded in the history of the monster-slaying world. This was enough for him to rank 5th on the Mystic Sovereign leaderboard. Where's Lin Xian? Just as the crowd was discussing and paying attention to the Mystic Sovereign leaderboard, someone raised this question. That was right. Lin Xian was so powerful. His ranking would definitely be very high. Everyone turned their heads and looked carefully at the Mystic Sovereign leaderboard. Under everyone's gaze, Lin Xian's name appeared in 3rd place. 3rd place. Everyone was excited when they saw Lin Xian appear in 3rd place. Although they had already guessed that Lin Xian might make it to the top 3, they were still shocked when they saw it with their own eyes. The top 3 on the Mystic Sovereign leaderboard were the most influential people. They were even more famous than the top 10. Previously, Red Buddha had been in 3rd place. However, he had not participated in the Monster Slaying Conference and had now fallen to 4th place. The 3rd place on the Mystic Sovereign leaderboard was actually a new student. He was probably the youngest person in Sinmu College's history to be in 3rd place. Du Guoyin looked at Lin Xian and chuckled. Junior brother Lin, congratulations. Li Yunfei also nodded slightly and said, You deserve it. Thank you both, Lin Xian replied with a smile. He was not surprised by this ranking. However, Du Guoyin and Li Yunfei's names did not change, which disappointed him. He had originally thought that he would be able to pull one of them down. However, he had no plans to challenge them now. 3rd place on the Mystic Sovereign leaderboard was already a very good ranking. Moreover, he had exposed his great dragon sword soul in the previous challenge. Therefore, it was better not to make a move for the time being. He did not want others to know about all his trump cards. He would only be able to survive if he kept his trump cards hidden. Soon, the new Mystic Sovereign leaderboard was released. The 1st place was still Du Guoyin. 2nd place was Li Yunfei. 3rd place was Lin Xian. And 4th place was the original 3rd place, Red Buddha. However, this person didn't participate in this monster-slaying gathering. Murong Qingcheng was ranked 5th, Zhang Yin was ranked 6th, and Qi Hao was ranked 7th. In 8th place was Willow Lance. In the final battle, Lin Xian had forced him to slay the demon realm, and he had missed the opportunity to enter the demon blood pool. As a result, his ranking dropped significantly. In the crowd, Willow Lance looked at the rankings on the Mystic Sovereign leaderboard. He was so angry that his entire body trembled. His face was as dark as it could get. He stared at Lin Xian's figure in the sky, his eyes full of murderous intent. He wanted nothing more than to kill him. It was all because of that damned little thief that he was kicked out of the monster-slaying realm. Otherwise, he might have been able to make it into the top 3 after obtaining the good fortune of the monster blood pool. Now, he couldn't have any of that. Lin Xian, I will never let you off. I want you dead. Willow Lance's expression was ferocious. On the other side, Tang Er looked at the changes on the Mystic Sovereign leaderboard, and his face turned dark. He was so depressed that he wanted to vomit blood. Originally, he had defeated the veteran powerhouses in the monster-slaying realm and became a super powerhouse who was ranked 9th on the Mystic Sovereign leaderboard. However, he had now been pushed down to 14th place. Although he was angry, he didn't dare to cause trouble for Lin Xian anymore. In the final battle, Lin Xian's battle with Jin Yu was still deeply imprinted in his mind. That level of battle was far from what he could compare to. Therefore, not only did he not dare to cause trouble for Lin Xian, but he was also afraid that Lin Xian would cause trouble for him. In an instant, those who had clashed with Lin Xian became cautious. The other disciples were frantically requesting to join the Dragon Sword Pavilion. As for these matters, Lin Xian left them to Wang Li, Dongfang Xiong, and the others. He led Murong Qingcheng back to the freshman courtyard after bidding farewell to everyone. When they arrived at the freshman courtyard, Lin Xian looked at Murong Qingcheng. Go back and have a good rest. You've been tired these past few days. Okay. Murong Qingcheng ran her fingers through her hair and looked at Lin Xian. She said gently, Don't work too hard. Then, she turned and entered the courtyard. The corners of Lin Xian's mouth curled slightly as he watched the pretty figure disappear, before he also entered his own courtyard. Next, he began to consolidate his cultivation. This time, he had advanced by a level. It could be said that his progress was very fast. He had to stabilize his level. Otherwise, if his foundation wasn't strong enough, his future path of martial arts would be very dangerous. Time passed quickly. In the blink of an eye, half a month had passed since the monster-slaying conference. Everyone's excitement gradually subsided. Senmu College returned to its peaceful state. However, in their free time, everyone would still talk about the monster-slaying conference, especially the battle between the three challengers. Many disciples took delight in talking about it. Lin Xian, in particular, had almost become a legend in Senmu College. He was the goal of countless new disciples. However, the person in question, Lin Xian, rarely appeared in front of everyone because he had been in seclusion to consolidate his cultivation these days. On this day, Lin Xian finally opened his eyes. His eyes were deep, like the stars in the sky. The aura on his body was abnormally powerful. Streaks of sword chi surrounded his body, making him look like a sword god. The next moment, he took a deep breath. All the phenomena disappeared into his body. His level had basically stabilized, and it had even improved. It seemed that it was time to come out of seclusion. Lin Xian stood up. In the past half a month of cultivation, his cultivation had completely consolidated at the fourth heaven of the venerable realm. Moreover, his aura was much stronger than when he was in the monster-slaying conference. That was because in the past half a month, not only had he consolidated his level, but he had also used his free time to absorb the energy crystal left by Niwa of Gojoseon in the mysterious small sword. This time, he did not absorb it quickly. Instead, he took it slowly and steadily. Therefore, his cultivation was also slowly and steadily increasing. Walking out of the courtyard, he sent a message to Wang Li and the others. He gathered some capable people from the Dragon Sword Pavilion to discuss matters. This time, Lin Xian's target was Wind-Seeking City. To be precise, it was the auction in Wind-Seeking City. Previously, he had first destroyed the Wanxiang auction and eliminated the Huang and Long families, causing the entire Wind-Seeking City to be leaderless. Moreover, he had carved the words Immortal Martial Auction on the ruins of the Wanxiang auction. This meant that he wanted to build an auction that belonged to him personally. He had left this matter to Wang Li and the others. However, they had always operated in secret and had not really started building an auction. Now, however, he had decided to build a real auction. This was because Wind-Seeking City was a very important city. Moreover, he had often heard about how profitable the Wanxiang auction was. Therefore, if he wanted to expand his influence, it was imperative for him to establish an auction house. In the courtyard, Wang Li, Dongfang Xiong, and more than 20 elite members stood there, quietly waiting for Lin Xian. These people were all members of the Dragon Sword Pavilion. Moreover, they were all powerful elite members. Lin Xian looked at these people and nodded in satisfaction. Now that the Dragon Sword Pavilion had developed, it had more than 1,000 members. It was also a very powerful force in Senmu College. The more than 20 people in front of him were all third heaven of the venerable realm martial artists. They were powerful and could be said to be the elites of the Dragon Sword Pavilion. This time, I've gathered everyone to discuss the establishment of an auction. Lin Xian looked at these people and said in a deep voice. Chapter 992. Lin Xian looked at the crowd and said in a deep voice, I've called everyone here today to discuss the establishment of the auction. Wang Li, tell us about the progress of the past few days. Okay. Hearing Lin Xian's words, Wang Li nodded and stepped forward. We've been secretly observing the situation in Windy City. Ever since the Wanxiang auction and the Huang and Long families were destroyed, Windy City has been without a leader. Various factions are rapidly rising and fighting for control. However, since Brother Xian carved the words Immortal Martial Auction on the old site of the Wanxiang auction, no one has dared to openly occupy that place. Of course, there's another reason, and that's Prince Ling Feng. The Wanxiang auction is a subordinate faction of Prince Ling Feng. This is probably no secret, so those people don't dare to occupy the Wanxiang auction's territory. As for us, our biggest obstacle is Prince Ling Feng. After all, he's one of the top geniuses in the continent, and he's very powerful. Although he hasn't made a move yet, we have to be careful. As for the other factions, they shouldn't be a problem. Hearing Wang Li's introduction, Lin Xian nodded slightly. Indeed, Prince Ling Feng's existence was his biggest threat, and it was also his biggest headache. Back then, he used the name Immortal Martial Auction to get Senmu College to back him up and intimidate the other party. However, this was only a method to scare the other party. If he could really get Senmu College to back him up, he wouldn't have to be here discussing it. It seemed that if he wanted to establish the auction, he had to deal with this threat first. Lin Xian frowned slightly. This meant that he had to find a strong backer to go against Prince Ling Feng. Otherwise, even if he established the auction, no one would dare to come. How about this? You guys carry on with your original work. I'll try to communicate with the college. Lin Xian thought for a moment and said slowly, Communicate with the college? Older brother Xian, is this okay? Wang Li frowned. There didn't seem to be such a precedent. I don't have much confidence either, but as long as there's a sliver of hope, I won't give up. Lin Xian shrugged and left the freshman area. Of course, if he borrowed Morong Qingqing's strength, he might be able to fight against Prince Ling Feng, but that would go against his original intentions. Moreover, if that was really the case, she was afraid that she would also be labeled as a freeloader. Therefore, unless it was absolutely necessary, he would not use the power behind Morong Qingqing. As for communicating with the Immortal Martial Academy, Lin Xian intended to give it a try. After all, the Immortal Martial Academy was an extremely profitable piece of meat. The Immortal Martial Academy wouldn't give up on such a lucrative opportunity. However, it was not easy to find an elder in Senmu College, but there was one place where one could definitely find one, and that was the True Spirit Hall. Such an important place would definitely be guarded by an elder. Soon, Lin Xian arrived at the True Spirit Hall. He took a deep breath and walked into the hall. Speak. What do you want to exchange for? An elder squinted his eyes and said calmly, Junior Lin Xian greet Senior. Lin Xian said respectfully. Lin Xian? Hearing this name, the elder opened his eyes. Then, a smile appeared on his face. So it's you, little guy. Speak. What do you want to exchange for? Seeing the elder's smile, Lin Xian scratched his head awkwardly and said tentatively, Elder, I'm not here to exchange for anything. I have something to discuss with the college. I wonder if you can introduce me to the elder in charge of business. Business? Why are you asking about that? The elder frowned and asked with a puzzled expression. It's like this. 2 days ago, I obtained an auction and want to run it again, but I want to cooperate with the college. Hearing this, the elder's expression became very strange. However, he seemed to have thought of something and did not reject Lin Xian's request. Instead, he said calmly, All right, follow me. Then, he waved his sleeve and disappeared from the True Spirit Hall with Lin Xian. Lin Xian felt the light dim and the wind blow around him. He was being carried by the elder at an extremely fast speed. Feeling this speed, Lin Xian was shocked. He originally thought that his illusionary demon steps was already very fast, but compared to the elder, it paled in comparison. The speed was so fast that he could not withstand it. Of course, this did not mean that Lin Xian was weak, but that the elder was too strong. He was definitely a peerless expert. Not long after, the elder brought Lin Xian to another hall. Compared to the grandeur of the True Spirit Hall, this hall was golden and dazzling. There were exquisite and luxurious decorations everywhere, showing the extraordinary wealth of this place. Elderly, why do you have the time to come here? A middle-aged man laughed loudly. Then, Lin Xian felt his vision blur, and a figure appeared in front of him. It was a middle-aged man with a round face and wearing a golden silk robe. He was smiling and looked very friendly. What? You don't welcome me here? The elder laughed and scolded. Of course not. Your presence will definitely bring light to the 1,000 Treasure Hall. All right, I won't chat with you anymore. I'm here to bring someone to see you, the elder said. Oh? The middle-aged man listened. He looked at Lin Xian curiously. This is? He was puzzled. He's a disciple of the college. His name is Lin Xian. Lin Xian, this is Wan Dianzhu from the 1,000 Treasure Hall, the elder said. In Senmu College, the most powerful person was the dean, followed by the 2 vice deans. Under the vice deans were the 5 main halls. The Thousand Treasure Hall was one of them. It was in charge of all the commercial resources of Senmu College. The position of its hall master was very high, second only to the vice deans. Of course, there were also a few mysterious powerhouses guarding the college. They were different from the powerhouses guarding the 5 main halls like elderly. What was more terrifying was that they were responsible for the safety of Senmu College. Usually, they would not intervene unless it was a matter of life and death. The middle-aged man in front of them was the hall master of the Thousand Treasure Hall. Disciple Lin Xian greets Wang Dianzhu. Lin Xian, you're the new third on the mysterious sovereign leaderboard? Wang Dianzhu said with a smile. Senior, you're too kind. Lin Xian scratched his head. He did not expect these people to know him. All right, if there's anything, you two can discuss it. I'm going back. With a wave of his sleeve, the guardian elder disappeared. Thank you, Senior. Looking at the disappearing figure, Lin Xian bowed respectfully. Then, he turned around and said to Wang Dianzhu, Hall Master, I've thought about it. I'm here to do business with the college. Chapter 993. Palace Master, I've thought about it. I'm here to do business with the school. Lin Xian looked at the middle-aged man and said quickly, Oh, business? Let's hear it. Wang Dianzhu was interested. It's like this. I have a very good location and I want to build an auction house there. However, my ability is limited and I want to cooperate with the school to run the auction house. Auction house? Tell me about the auction house in Windy City. Wang Dianzhu said. Lin Xian was stunned. He quickly said, Senior, it is indeed the auction house in Windy City? You little brat, you're quite bold. How dare you tear down the Wanxiang auction house? However, this may not be a bad thing for us. However, due to certain reasons, we couldn't do it. Now that you've torn it down, we've solved a problem. I can consider this. After all, the profits from the auction house in Windy City are unimaginable. Does that mean you've agreed? Lin Xian was overjoyed when he heard this. There's no rush. I'll have to discuss this with the other elders in the school. How about this? You go back first. If I have any news, I'll send someone to inform you. Wang Dianzhu said slowly. Lin Xian left the Thousand Treasure Palace happily. After listening to Wang Dianzhu's tone, there was a high chance that he would agree. After Lin Xian left, Wang Dianzhu did not stay idle. He disappeared from the Thousand Treasure Palace in a flash. He was very interested in this matter. Moreover, Lin Xian's identity was not ordinary. He had to report this to the dean. Soon, he arrived at a quiet valley. There were bamboo forests everywhere. Birds and beasts flew away. It was a peaceful place. Moreover, the spiritual qi here was very dense. In this beautiful valley, Wang Dianzhu met Dean Xian. However, when Dean Xian heard this, she immediately opened her eyes. Oh, you're saying that Lin Xian wants to set up an auction? Yes, and it should be the original Wanxiang auction. However, I'm afraid that he's worried about Prince Lingfeng's influence, so he wants to pull us in. I didn't expect them to meet so soon, but this is also good. They are old enemies, and they will fight sooner or later. How about this? Go and tell him that we agree to his request and announce this news to the public. Yes. When Wang Dianzhu received the order, he quickly left the Peach Blossom Valley. After Wang Dianzhu left, Dean Xian narrowed her eyes and muttered to herself. Although the two of you are mortal enemies, with your current strength, it's still not enough for you to face him head-on. All we can do is try our best to prolong the time. When you've truly grown up, then you can fight it out. It had been 2 days since Lin Xian returned to the freshman courtyard. He was anxiously waiting for a reply. On the 3rd day, a middle-aged deacon landed in his courtyard. Sensing that someone was coming, Lin Xian's figure flashed, and he quickly ran out. Then, he saw a middle-aged man standing in the courtyard. Lin Xian, right? I'm a deacon of 10,000 Treasure Hall. The hall master sent me here, said the middle-aged man. Elder Deacon, is there any news? Lin Xian asked expectantly when he heard Elder Deacon's words. Indeed. Our hall master replied that he has agreed to this matter. Senmu College will cooperate with you, and the profits will be asterisk 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 asterisk. Asterisk 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 asterisk? Okay, I agree. 40% is enough for me. Lin Xian nodded. Indeed, as long as he could get on the good side of Senmu College, no one would dare to cause trouble in the future. Even Prince Lingfeng would have to think twice. After all, Senmu College was a terrifying force. Although Prince Lingfeng was powerful, he was not qualified to go against Senmu College, unless the other party brought out the strength of the Palace of Ares. Once the other party did that, it would become a battle between two super forces. This was something that no one wanted to see. Therefore, Lin Xian was more than willing to accept the split. However, the middle-aged deacon shook his head slightly. You're mistaken. There's something I have to clarify. Regarding the split, it's 60% for you and 40% for us. What? Lin Xian almost choked on his own saliva. 60% for me? Are you sure? He was stunned. After all, 40% was already good enough. He did not expect the college to give him 60%. Could it be that he was dreaming? Lin Xian pinched his thigh and felt that it hurt. You didn't hear wrong. It's 60% for you and 40% for us, the deacon said again. There won't be any special conditions, right? Lin Xian frowned. There had to be a reason for this. Although it was only a 20% cut, the profit was frighteningly large. We will make our stance clear to the outside world about this cooperation. However, we will not send too many people to Wenfeng City. Perhaps only 1 or 2 elders will be there to help you. Everything else will depend on you. But don't worry. If anyone dares to cause trouble, Senmu College will not let them off. I see. Hearing this, Lin Xian relaxed. In other words, Senmu College did not intend to interfere with the management of the auction. They would only release their reputation and leave the rest to Lin Xian. This was good too. It was more in line with Lin Xian's thoughts. Otherwise, he would not feel comfortable being tied down. All right, then I'll have to thank the 1,000 Treasure Palace and the elders of the college. I will set up the immortal martial auction as soon as possible. After that, Lin Xian sent the middle-aged deacon away. He once again gathered Wang Li and the others. When everyone heard that the college had agreed to give them 60% of the profits, they were all stunned. Many of them even bit their tongues. Brother Xian, are you sure you're not joking with us? Boss, are you awake? To be honest, when I heard the news, I had the same reaction as all of you. However, this is indeed true. Lin Xian said with a smile. That's awesome. Hearing this, Wang Li and the others all cheered. With the support of the college, they were not afraid of Prince Lingfeng anymore. Moreover, they were afraid that not many people would dare to have any ideas about them. All right, the next step is to prepare to set up the auction. During this period of time, everyone may have to work a little harder. No problem, Brother Xian. We are happy. They were too excited. In the past, they only went to the auction to buy things. They never thought that one day they would be able to set up their own auction. Everyone was extremely excited because there was a huge difference between going to an auction and setting up one's own auction. One had to know that it was not easy to run an auction. If Lin Xian did not have the support of Senmu College, he would not have been able to proceed so smoothly. After that, Lin Xian led everyone to Wenfeng City. Chapter 994. During this period of time, Wind-Seeking City was not peaceful at all. Undercurrents were surging and battles were ongoing. Of course, these battles had not developed to the point where they could threaten the safety of the city. Therefore, the ordinary people were living peacefully. However, the various factions were extremely uneasy. This was because the situation had changed too quickly during this period of time. Almost every day, there were factions being destroyed and new factions rising up. All of this originated from a single person, and it was Lin Xian. Back then, the other party had annihilated the 3 major forces of Wind-Seeking City. It was too sudden. Therefore, Wind-Seeking City could be said to be a group of dragons without a leader. It was chaos. The properties of the 3 factions had also become treasures without an owner. These were all great profits. No faction was not jealous of them. Therefore, when Lin Xian and the others left, these people immediately began to fight for the treasures. They did not dare to fight for the items of the Wanxiang auction, but they had no qualms about the properties of the Huang and Long clan. Not only that, other factions from other regions also began to interfere, wanting to get their hands on this fat piece of meat. After a period of fighting, 3 factions emerged from the encirclement, and suppressed the other factions. One of them was the local faction of Wind-Seeking City, the Tai clan. The Tai clan mainly dealt in mining and forging artifacts. They were already very powerful, second only to the Wanxiang auction and the Long clan. They were the strongest clan under the three factions. Therefore, when the three factions of the Wanxiang auction were destroyed, they quickly rose up and occupied an advantageous position. The other two factions were from outside of Wind-Seeking City. However, they were extremely powerful and forcefully intervened. One of the factions was called the Purple Demon House, which was quite famous around Wind-Seeking City. The housemaster, Purple Demon, was an experienced expert of the fourth sky of the Martial Highness realm. He was extremely powerful. The other faction was a faction that Lin Xian was familiar with, the Azure Red Society. The three new factions were fighting for the properties of the Huang and Long clans. The battle was extremely intense. However, a sudden incident broke their conflict. Lin Xian had once again arrived at Wind-Seeking City. Seeing the group of immortal martial disciples descending from the sky, the entire Wind-Seeking City was extremely nervous. The last time something like this happened, Lin Xian had already eliminated the three factions. What was he going to do this time? For a time, the various factions were extremely cautious. Even the three new factions were much quieter. They were all paying attention to what Lin Xian was doing here. However, to their relief, the other party did not look for trouble with them. Instead, they went straight to the place where the Wanxiang auction was held. It can't be. Lin Xian really wants to build an auction? Heavens, this is too inconceivable. The Wanxiang auction is Prince Ling Feng's subordinate force. Could it be that they really want to go against young Master Ling Feng? This is too insolent. That might not be the case. Didn't you see that they wrote Xinwu Auction House? Who knows, it might have something to do with Sinmu College. Everyone was discussing animatedly, and they were all paying close attention. Lin Xian did not pay attention to the discussions of the others. He led the Dragon Sword Pavilion members to the ruins of the Wanxiang auction. Go. Summon all the forces in the city. Lin Xian used his spiritual energy to create a palace and stayed there for the time being. He then ordered Wang Li and the others to gather all the forces in the city. Wang Li, Dongfang Xiong and the others received the order and moved quickly. Very quickly, other than the ordinary citizens, all the forces in the city received the order. They were extremely puzzled. They did not know what Lin Xian was trying to do. However, no one dared to not go. After all, Lin Xian's influence was still there. They did not want to end up like the Wanxiang auction. In an instant, all the forces in the city sent their representatives. Countless martial artists moved, causing the ground of the city to tremble slightly. Everyone looked at the scene in horror, and their hearts were filled with shock. Very quickly, the representatives of the various forces arrived at the ruins of the Wanxiang auction. They looked at the palace made of spiritual energy and were even more shocked. They had only seen such a technique in legends. Furthermore, the aura coming from the palace seemed to be even more powerful and terrifying than before. Needless to say, this aura was definitely Lin Xian's. What did this mean? This meant that he had improved in such a short period of time. This cultivation speed was definitely demonic. In the past, they were already no match for Lin Xian. Now, there was no need to even think about it. Therefore, for a moment, everyone waited obediently. The entire place was eerily quiet. Step, step, step. Suddenly, steady footsteps could be heard coming from the palace. Then, a young man's figure appeared in front of everyone. It was really him. Looking at the figure, everyone exclaimed in their hearts. Is everyone here? Lin Xian looked around and asked in a deep voice. Other than the Purple Demon House, all the other forces are here. Wang Li said from the side. Hearing this, Lin Xian raised his eyebrows and asked indifferently, what is the background of the Purple Demon House? The Purple Demon House was a relatively large force near Wind-Seeking City. It was built by the Purple Devil. Due to their decisive and ruthless style, very few people dared to provoke them. What's the strength of this Purple Devil? He had entered the fourth heaven of the venerable realm a long time ago. No one knew how strong he was now, but he was sure that he hadn't broken through to the fifth heaven. This time, it was Yufei who answered. Because they needed a lot of information to build an auction, Lin Xian summoned him back from Lion Tiger City. Hearing this information, Lin Xian didn't say anything, but his eyes were gloomy. A fourth heaven of the venerable realm. No wonder he was so arrogant. He was considered a powerhouse in the outside world. However, Lin Xian wasn't afraid of him. He had also broken through to the fourth heaven of the venerable realm. Moreover, he had a powerful battle strength like De Long. Very few people in the same realm were his match. Moreover, the establishment of the immortal martial auction was his first real step into the blood realm. He had to intimidate all the forces in Wind-Seeking City. There couldn't be any accidents. This was because he had to show his strength and confidence to make everyone believe that he had the ability to go against Prince Ling Feng. This way, when he opened the auction in the future, there would be people who would dare to give them things to auction. If they couldn't even intimidate a Wind-Seeking City, then their immortal martial auction would become a joke. Even if they opened for business, no one would look for them. And now, the Purple Demon House was undoubtedly provoking them. If it was any other day, it would be fine. However, at this critical moment, Lin Xian wouldn't let them go. Pass down the message. Tell them to come here in the time it takes for an incense stick to burn. Otherwise, they will be kicked out of Wind-Seeking City forever. Lin Xian's cold voice spread in all directions. Chapter 995. Hearing this, the representatives of the various forces trembled and their pupils shrank. Their hearts were in an uproar. Wasn't this Lin Xian a little too overbearing? One had to know that the Purple Demon House was considered a major power. Furthermore, they had snatched quite a lot of resources and were considered one of the top powers in the Wind-Seeking City. However, Lin Xian's words were so obvious. They could either come and greet him or get out of Wind-Seeking City forever. Getting out of Wind-Seeking City meant that the Purple Demon House had to give up on the resources they had snatched and spit out the fat meat in their hands. This warning was too overbearing. Everyone was shocked. If it was not handled well, the two forces would clash. The Purple Demon House was extremely powerful. It was not something a family like Huang Long could compare to. The housemaster, Purple Devil, was a senior expert who had entered the fourth heaven of Honorable Realm many years ago. He was extremely powerful. The people of Dragon Sword Pavilion did not have such concerns. They only took orders from Lin Xian. Receiving Lin Xian's order, one of the disciples quickly flew into the sky. What? What did you say? Say it again. A furious voice came from the Long family's residence. The Long family's residence had become the Purple Demon House's base. Because the Long clan had retreated from the Wind-Seeking City without fighting, their mansion was the most well-preserved and almost undamaged. Therefore, the Purple Demon House had seized the Long family's residence the moment they entered Wind-Seeking City. It had become their base camp in Wind-Seeking City. In a large hall, a bearded middle-aged man heard his subordinates report and was instantly enraged. He was like a mad lion. Despicable, too despicable. A brat dared to ask them to greet him and even threatened to get out of Wind-Seeking City in less than half an hour? Contempt. This was blatant contempt. The Purple Demon House was not a useless family like the Huang and Long families. Although the other party was powerful, the Purple Demon House was not in his eyes. The reason why they didn't take over the Wanxiang auction this time was because they were afraid of young Master Ling Feng, not because they were afraid of Lin Xian. In their opinion, they were already doing Lin Xian a huge favor by not causing trouble for him. But now, Lin Xian actually dared to cause trouble for them. He was really courting death. Boss, what should we do? That brat is too hateful. He actually dares to provoke us. At this moment, a middle-aged man with a protruding mouth and monkey-like cheeks stood up. His face was ferocious, and there was a fierce light in his eyes. That's right. I'll go kill him and bring his head back. Another warrior said coldly. Their Purple Demon House had never received such provocation before, especially when the other party was just a young brat. This was something they could not tolerate. The middle-aged man with a full beard waved his hand, and the corner of his mouth raised into an evil smile. Didn't he want to gather everyone? All right then, let's go and see what this brat is up to. But wouldn't that be letting that kid off too easily? Let him off easy? How is this possible? Offending our Purple Demon House, he definitely won't live long. The middle-aged man sneered. The The reason he gathered everyone this time is probably to set up an auction. When the time comes, we'll destroy his plan. Let's see how arrogant he can be then. Heh, a young brat actually dares to set up an auction. He really doesn't know how to write the word death. The group of people sneered. Then, they followed the middle-aged man with a full beard and quickly soared into the sky, flying in the direction of the Vientiane auction. In the center of Wind-Seeking City, the crowd gathered and waited quietly. In front of them, there was a sandalwood incense stick as thick as a finger that was slowly burning. However, more than half of the incense stick had been burned, and the ground was covered in ashes. However, the people from the Purple Demon House had yet to arrive. Although the representatives of the various forces did not say anything, they were constantly guessing in their hearts. In their opinion, the Purple Demon House would definitely ignore such an unreasonable request. Looking at Lin Xian's expression, it seemed like he was not just saying it for fun. If both parties were to fight, they would most likely be the fishermen who reaped the benefits. Thinking of this, these people could not help but become excited. Lin Xian sat on a dragon-shaped table made of spiritual energy. His eyes were slightly narrowed as he comprehended the knowledge of alchemy left behind by the Niwa of Gojouzian. Wang Li, Dongfang Xiong, and the others stood to the side. However, when they looked at the incense stick that was about to burn out, their faces became increasingly gloomy. This time, they had come with great ambitions. They were determined to set up the immortal martial auction. However, before it even started, there was already someone who did not give them face. If Lin Xian did not say to wait for the time it took for an incense stick to burn, they would have already led their people to kill. What Purple Demon House? What Purple Demon? Although they seemed powerful to outsiders, they did not care about them at all. Suddenly, the sound of something breaking through the air came from the sky. Then, countless rays of light lit up, accompanied by waves of terrifying and ferocious spiritual energy fluctuations. Sensing this spiritual energy, everyone looked up at the sky. Then, the pupils of the representatives shrank, as if they had seen a ghost. They could not believe it. Purple Demon House, how is this possible? That's right, why are they here? Countless cries of surprise rang out. This was different from what they had expected. Could Lin Xian really be this powerful? Even the Purple Demon House could not resist. Before they could react, the figures in the sky had already landed. A powerful spiritual energy aura spread out in all directions, stirring up a cloud of dust. Ha 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 ha, it's so lively here. Just as these people landed, an extremely arrogant laughter spread out in all directions. This was a group of martial artists dressed in purple. The leader was a middle-aged man with a big beard. Beside him was a middle-aged man with a pointy mouth and ape-like cheeks. On the right was a burly man like an iron tower. Behind him were dozens of martial artists with powerful auras. When these people grouped together, they formed an extremely powerful force. Not only that, they formed a sharp contrast with the representatives of the other forces. These forces only sent one or two representatives, unlike the Purple Demon House who brought countless experts. It was obvious that this was a show of force, a show of strength. When the bearded middle-aged man landed, he did not pay attention to Lin Xian and the others in front of him. Instead, he greeted the other forces beside him as if they were the masters. He completely ignored Lin Xian and the others. Seeing this scene, everyone's hearts thumped and they were overjoyed. Although the people from the Purple Demon House were here, they did not seem to be satisfied. It was as if they wanted to provoke them. As expected, the Purple Demon House is not so easy to invite. Many people sneered in their hearts, ready to watch a good show. Originally, they were already dissatisfied with Lin Xian. If the Purple Demon House could fight with Lin Xian at this moment, it would be for the best. It would be best if both sides were injured. Then, they would be able to reap the benefits. Seeing the other party's arrogant attitude, Wang Li and the others frowned. They glanced at Lin Xian and found that Lin Xian still had his eyes closed. Chapter 996. Taking a deep breath, Wang Li took a step forward and said in a cold voice, "Are the people below from the Purple Dress House?" "It's us." "Brat, what are you planning to do by gathering so many people?" The middle-aged man with a protruding mouth and ape-like cheeks shouted coldly, "I've gathered all of you here to discuss the matter of rebuilding the auction house." Auction house? Great. Our purple demon house also wants to build an auction house. Why don't we work together? The middle-aged man with a protruding mouth and ape-like cheeks laughed arrogantly. Hearing this, everyone's eyelids twitched and they raised their heads. The smell of gunpowder was too strong. It seemed like the purple demon house was really angry this time. The middle-aged man with a protruding mouth and ape-like cheeks continued, "You also know that this auction house is of the utmost importance and is the symbol of wind-seeking city. You bunch of brats don't have much strength nor experience. It's impossible for you to build an auction house. Why don't you let us seniors teach you how to build and manage an auction house?" Hearing this, Wang Li, Dongfang Xiong, and the rest's faces sank. The other party's arrogant attitude was completely disregarding them. "What? Is there a need to think about this? It's your great fortune to be able to receive our guidance. How about this? We'll manage the auction house together and we'll give you 10% of the profits. What do you think?" The middle-aged man with a protruding mouth and ape-like cheeks was becoming more and more arrogant. Behind him, the purple demon house's cultivators were laughing loudly. Buzz. Suddenly, Lin Xian opened his eyes. His gaze was like a sword, sweeping in all directions. All the cultivators who were swept by this gaze shuddered, and a chill rose from the bottom of their hearts. Especially the purple demon house's cultivators. They stopped laughing and revealed a terrified expression. It was as if their necks were being strangled. Their faces flushed red. The middle-aged man with a protruding mouth and ape-like cheeks felt his heart beat wildly, and his face was filled with fear. Just now, when that gaze swept over him, all the hair on his body stood on end, as if an invisible sword had ruthlessly stabbed into his chest. He knew that it was just an illusion, but he still couldn't help but tremble slightly. The bearded middle-aged man's face was also gloomy. He didn't expect the other party to have such a method. It was indeed out of his expectations. Seeing Lin Xian open his eyes, Wang Li let out a sigh of relief and retreated to Lin Xian's side. "You want to cooperate with us to set up an auction?" Lin Xian asked calmly, his voice emotionless. "Yes." At this moment, the middle-aged man with a protruding mouth and monkey-like cheeks was also doing his best to calm the fear in his heart as he braced himself and spoke. "Kid, it's your great fortune to be able to cooperate with our purple demon house." "Luck?" Lin Xian smiled disdainfully. "You can't even block my gaze. Do you think a person like you is worthy of cooperating with me?" His tone was light, but it was filled with disdain. Hearing this, the members of the Dragon Sword Pavilion beside Lin Xian shook their heads in disdain, their eyes filled with contempt. Countless members of the Dragon Sword Pavilion looked at the monkey-faced man with disdain. "Brat, you're courting death." Being looked down upon, the monkey-faced middle-aged man was furious. He took a step forward and punched out. "How dare you? How dare you attack?" Seeing that the other party dared to attack, Wang Li also shouted angrily and was about to stop him. However, before he could do anything, cold air suddenly condensed in the air and froze the terrifying fist shadow. Pong! An azure ice cube fell from the sky onto the ground, emitting a monstrous chill. Within it was a resplendent fist shadow. Seeing this scene, the surrounding cultivators all sucked in a breath of cold air. As for the monkey-faced middle-aged man, his eyelids were twitching wildly. He didn't even see how the other party attacked. "Since you're here, you'll have to abide by my rules," Lin Xian said coldly. "With your strength, it's best that you don't embarrass yourself." "Bullshit. I'll blow you up with a single punch." Opposite him, the monkey-faced middle-aged man was furious. His face was ferocious as he roared and mobilized all the strength in his body, quickly attacking Lin Xian. This punch was aimed at Lin Xian, and it even included all the disciples of the Dragon Sword Pavilion. Not only that, the other party even wanted to completely destroy this area. If a bottomless pit was created in this area, then it would be impossible to build an auction. From this, it could be seen how sinister the monkey-faced man opposite him was. However, Lin Xian only snorted coldly and didn't even make a move. In the next moment, the middle-aged man's arm suddenly exploded. Countless icicles surged out of his arm and pierced in all directions. The terrifying power in the other party's fist that had yet to surge out was suddenly interrupted. Immediately, the monkey-faced middle-aged man let out a miserable cry. He held his arm and kept retreating. Blood sprayed in the air. However, before it could fall, it was frozen into ice beads by the cold air and fell to the ground with a sonorous sound. Seeing this scene, everyone was stunned. Many people cried out in alarm, their eyes filled with shock. And, without a doubt, the one who attacked was definitely someone from the Dragon Sword Pavilion, and it was definitely Lin Xian. However, they didn't see the other party attack at all. They only saw the monkey-faced middle-aged man's arm suddenly emitting countless icicles. It was extremely terrifying. They didn't know anything else. What kind of technique is this? Isn't it a little too terrifying? Seeing this, the Purple Demon House's cultivators' eyelids twitched wildly. Many of them went forward and supported the monkey-faced middle-aged man. They released streams of spirit energy to resist the terrifying power of the cold air. Several people joined forces and barely blocked the cold air. However, what shocked them was that this cold air was extremely strange. It had already frozen the man's entire arm. Even if they removed the cold air now, the arm would be crippled. Unless they had a heaven-defying top-grade spirit medicine, it would be impossible to restore the arm. After hearing this news, the monkey-faced middle-aged man went crazy. He was incomparably ferocious, like an injured wild beast. He stared fiercely in front of him and roared like a madman. However, Lin Xian only snorted coldly. The terrifying cold air once again descended on the man's body. Suddenly, the monkey-faced man felt as if he was struck by lightning. His eyes were filled with horror as he kept retreating. He was crazy in his heart, but he didn't dare to show it anymore. That aura made him feel as if he was on the verge of death. At this moment, the bearded middle-aged man from the Purple Demon House said coldly, "Aren't you going a little too far by doing this? Injuring people from the Purple Demon House without any reason. If you don't give us an explanation today, don't blame us for being impolite." As the bearded middle-aged man's voice fell, the other cultivators from the Purple Demon House also looked over with cold eyes. A terrifying aura spread out from their bodies. "You want to fight? Then bring it on." Wang Li and the others were fearless. In terms of strength and numbers, they were completely superior to the other party. However, Lin Xian waved his hand slightly. He looked forward and said coldly, "You want an explanation? Fine, I'll give you one." Chapter 997. I'm afraid that he used all his strength in that punch. That power should be enough to turn someone into a bloody mist. Furthermore, he wanted to destroy the entire ground. I don't think I need to tell you what evil intentions he has. Are you saying that only you can attack and I'm not allowed to retaliate? I'm afraid there's no such logic in this world. I only crippled one of his arms. I've already given him enough face. However, if he dares to act recklessly again, I don't mind turning him into an ice sculpture. Secondly, I've gathered all of you here to inform you that I'm going to build the immortal martial auction. I'm not here to discuss with you. Furthermore, I have no intention of joining forces with anyone. Therefore, no matter what doubts you have, you'd better swallow them down. And one last point. In Wind-Seeking City, I only want the immortal martial auction. As for other things, I won't compete with you. You don't have to worry. However, there's one thing you have to remember. In Wind-Seeking City, I'm the heavens. Normally, I won't impose any restrictions on you. However, I hope that you won't cross my bottom line. Otherwise, you'll end up like the Wanxiang auction. Initially, when the crowd heard that Lin Xian wouldn't lay his hands on other resources, the representatives of these forces heaved a sigh of relief. However, in the next moment, their hearts pounded violently, almost bursting apart. In Wind-Seeking City, I'm the heavens. These words were too domineering. At the same time, it also meant that Lin Xian was going to become the true overlord of Wind-Seeking City. If these people obeyed his will, they would be able to survive in Wind-Seeking City. However, if they rebelled, they would end up in a miserable state. For a moment, everyone was silent. Obviously, they had to seriously discuss such conditions. However, the bearded man from the purple dress house snorted coldly once again. He was extremely angry at Lin Xian's words. Originally, the purple dress house wanted to be the overlord of Wind-Seeking City. However, Lin Xian actually proposed the same thing. He couldn't accept it. Immortal martial auction? What a great reputation. I wonder if anyone would dare to come to your auction once it's built? The bearded middle-aged man sneered sarcastically. What do you mean by that? Wang Li coldly shouted at the other party's words. What do you mean? The bearded middle-aged man sneered. We all know that the Vientiane auction house is Prince Lingfeng's subordinate force. How dare you destroy the Vientiane auction house? Do you think Prince Lingfeng will let you go? Even if you set up an auction now, I believe it will be torn down before long. I advise you not to waste your energy, lest you embarrass yourself when the time comes, the bearded middle-aged man said. His voice was loud and clear, spreading in all directions. Hearing this, everyone was shocked and nodded one after another. Indeed, it was no secret that the Vientiane auction was Prince Lingfeng's faction. Not only did Lin Xian tear down the Wanxiang auction house, he even built a new auction house on top of it. This was a blatant provocation. At that time, even if Prince Lingfeng didn't do it himself, there would be countless experts coming to find trouble with him. It seemed that this auction would not be able to continue operating. However, after hearing the bearded middle-aged man's words, the people from the Dragon Sword Pavilion did not panic. Instead, they sneered. Seeing their expressions, the bearded middle-aged man's heart skipped a beat. He had a bad feeling about this. However, he quickly shook his head in denial. He did not think that these people in front of him had the strength to fight against Prince Lingfeng. After all, Prince Lingfeng was a true genius of the Tianwu continent. He had countless experts under him and was definitely not someone these people could fight against. Are you done? Lin Xian asked calmly. What are you pretending for? I don't believe that you're not afraid of Prince Lingfeng, the bearded man said coldly. You don't have to worry about whether I'm afraid or not. However, I have something to show you. With that, Lin Xian waved his sleeve and a golden scroll appeared in his hand. In the next moment, he waved his arm and threw the golden scroll into the sky. The golden scroll floated in the sky and emitted a bright light. Then, it slowly opened. On top of it, there were two large golden words, Immortal Martial. The words were flamboyant, and the strokes carried a sharp aura. There was also a shocking pressure. Therefore, when the scroll was opened, the pressure quickly spread in all directions. Feeling this pressure, the hearts of the representatives of the various forces started to beat wildly. Their faces turned pale. Some of the weaker ones even collapsed on the ground and broke out in cold sweat. This pressure was too terrifying. It was not something they could fight against. Most of the warriors from the Purple Demon House were also lying on the ground. Only the bearded middle-aged man was resisting with all his might. However, his legs were already trembling. This scroll was personally written by an elder of Senmu College. I believe you all have experienced its power. Since this auction is called the Immortal Martial Auction, it means that this auction is not held by me alone. It is an auction held by me and Senmu College together. No matter who it is, whoever dares to touch the Immortal Martial Auction will have to face the wrath of Senmu College. Lin Xian's cold voice echoed in the surroundings. Hearing this, everyone was shocked and extremely shocked. They did not expect the other party to have the support of Senmu College. Then, the situation would be completely different. Thinking of this, they felt bitter. Since the other party dared to rebuild the auction in Windy City, it meant that the other party must have a powerful trump card. However, they did not expect the other party's trump card to be Senmu College. Senmu College was truly a colossus. It was one of the top forces in the mainland. Even Prince Lingfeng would not dare to make a move against it. I am from the Tai family. I am willing to accept Lin Gongzi's conditions, a white-haired old man said quickly. I agree too. Me too, us too. Exclamations sounded one after another as the representatives of the various forces expressed their stance. Expressing their stance meant that they acknowledged Lin Xian's position as the overlord of Windy City. In fact, It did not matter whether they acknowledged it or not. The strength and trump cards that Lin Xian had shown were not something that they could compete with. Hearing the crowd's voices, Lin Xian's lips curled up slightly. Then, he looked around and finally fixed his gaze on the people from the Purple Demon House. Feeling that gaze, everyone's hearts trembled and they were filled with regret. If they could have guessed the current situation, they would not have dared to say such words. However, since they had already done it, they could only bear it with their heads. The bearded middle-aged man's expression was uncertain. He gritted his teeth so hard that they creaked. This time, he came to Windy City because the housemaster had personally instructed him to take down Windy City. However, he did not expect such a situation to occur. However, under such circumstances, he had no choice but to bow down. Agree to it first, then go back and ask the housemaster for help. I don't believe that Senmu College can protect him forever. Chapter 998. Agree to his request first, then ask the house leader for help. I don't believe Senmu College can protect him forever. The bearded man sneered in his heart. However, before he could speak, Lin Xian spoke first. As for the rest of you, get lost. Don't hover in front of me. You. The bearded man trembled in anger, his face ashen. He didn't expect Lin Xian to berate them and ask them to get lost. This was a slap to their faces. Brat, you better think carefully. We are from the Purple Demon House, the bearded man said through gritted teeth, his eyes burning with anger. However, Lin Xian only snorted coldly. His eyes suddenly focused, and with a wave of his hand, a large icy palm rushed forward. This palm was too terrifying. It covered the sky and the earth, emitting a bone-piercing chill. It directly enveloped everyone from the Purple Demon House and slapped them into the sky. The bearded man and the other martial artists were all sent flying, disappearing from their original spot. A bunch of annoying flies. Finally, some peace. Lin Xian clapped his hands and said with disgust. Seeing this scene, everyone's heart beat wildly. Fortunately, they didn't act arrogantly in front of Lin Xian, or else they wouldn't have ended up well. Oh, right. I want to set up the auction as soon as possible. Which one of you is from a construction family? Don't worry, I'm not the great demon king. I'll give you all the spirit stones you deserve. This old man is the Mu family patriarch. Our Mu family has been in charge of construction for hundreds of years. We can definitely help Lin Gongzi set up the auction. I wonder if Lin Gongzi wants us to design it, or if he already has the blueprint and wants to build it. I already have the blueprint. Let's start building, Lin Xian said. Since you're the first one to step forward, I'll give you a 20% discount on your fees at the Immortal Martial Auction. All the disciples of the Mu family can enjoy this treatment. 20%. Hearing this, everyone was shocked and sucked in a breath of cold air. With Senmu College as his trump card, it was certain that he would set up the auction. Furthermore, one could imagine that the Immortal Martial Arts Auction Hall would not be any weaker than the Wanxiang Auction Hall. And now, a small family like the Mu family had received a 20% discount just by stepping forward to undertake the construction. This was a great opportunity that had fallen from the sky. I'm from the Tai family. I'm willing to bear all the metal problems during the construction process. The old man from the Tai family spoke again. All right, 15% off, Lin Xian said calmly. Hearing that, the old man from the Tai family smiled, looking very excited. My family can also help. Immediately, the representatives of the various forces spoke one after another, looking very anxious. They didn't want to miss out on such a good opportunity. Moreover, they might even be able to get closer to Lin Xian. This was killing two birds with one stone. Reward them all. Everything is 10% off. Lin Xian was in a good mood and said with a wave of his hand. Running an auction in the Windy City would bring in a lot of profit. Moreover, there were only a few families in the city. Even if all the families in the city were to give him a 10% discount, he would not suffer a loss. Moreover, doing so would also improve the relationship between both parties. While making them respect him, it would also create a sense of attachment. Lin Xian understood the principle of giving carrots after carrots. After that, these people left and went to prepare for the establishment of the auction. After the representatives left, They all heaved a sigh of relief and quickly returned to their respective families. This time, when they returned, they must warn the disciples and their families not to provoke Lin Xian or the immortal martial auction. Lin Xian and the others smiled as well. Right now, all they needed to do was to supervise these people. At the same time, the news of Lin Xian and Senmu College collaborating and organizing an auction quickly spread. This news first spread throughout the entire Windy City, then quickly spread to other cities. In an instant, the martial artists in the surrounding cities all heard the news. At the same time, they were extremely shocked. They didn't expect Senmu College to be involved in this matter. In the following days, Windy City became lively again. Many forces began to take action to establish the immortal martial auction. As for the specific matters, Lin Xian left Wang Li and the rest to supervise, while he discussed with the Crimson Dragon about the formation. Establishing the auction was a small matter. Defending the auction was the most important thing. After all, he had just established the auction. If something unexpected happened during the auction, they wouldn't be able to operate it in the future. Therefore, for an auction, safety was always the most important thing. As for the military force, Senmu College would at most send 1 or 2 elders to oversee it. They wouldn't send too many people. Therefore, in this aspect, he had to rely on himself to recruit experts. However, he had an advantage. That was, he had the Crimson Dragon, an expert in formations. If a few powerful formations were set up in the auction, even if they didn't have many experts to oversee it, the formations alone would be enough to deal with outsiders. Therefore, Lin Xian had been discussing the formations with the Crimson Dragon for the past few days. The Crimson Dragon shook its head and said, "Boy, I recommend this 5 elements formation. It can be used for both offense and defense. It's very powerful." After the good fortune in the demon blood pool last time, its cultivation had recovered to about the 3rd heaven of the venerable realm. The number of formations it could use had also increased. This 5 elements formation was one of them. Lin Xian looked at the 5 elements formation and then nodded with satisfaction. Not bad. It's really not bad. It can be used for both offense and defense. Moreover, its attack and defense are extremely powerful. The most important thing was that the materials needed to build this formation were not particularly precious. Okay, that's it. Lin Xian clapped his hands and decided. Lin Xian stroked his chin and said, "With this 5 elements formation as the foundation, we'll set up a few more formations." He didn't feel at ease with just the 5 elements formation. This formation could at most block a 5th heaven venerable. If a more powerful one came, it might not be able to block it. Therefore, he had to consider it thoroughly. After all, this auction was not only going to be held for 1 or 2 years. Moreover, if something really happened, not only would he suffer a loss, but he would also be embarrassed in front of Senmu College. Are there any unusually powerful formations? Find 2 to set them up. Don't worry about the materials. I can consider asking the college for some, Lin Xian said. Anyway, he had already clung onto Senmu College's golden thigh, so it wouldn't be a problem to ask for some materials. Okay, let me see. The Crimson Dragon began to think. At this moment, Lin Xian suddenly frowned. His heart was beating wildly, and a strong sense of danger surged in his heart. He didn't hesitate and quickly moved horizontally. In the next moment, a cold light appeared where he was originally standing and cut through the void. Seeing this scene, Lin Xian's pupil shrank. If he hadn't moved away, he would have been seriously injured. Who exactly was it that was so vicious? After that cold light, a black shadow flashed. It was a man in black. His entire body was covered in a black robe. He held a long sword in his hand, and his entire body was extremely cold. After missing the attack, the mysterious man in black didn't stop. Instead, he quickly disappeared into the void. "Want to leave?" Seeing that the other party had escaped, Lin Xian snorted coldly and quickly attacked. Chapter 999. Trying to leave? Lin Xian snorted when he saw the figure gradually disappear. The other party had almost killed him. How could he let him leave? In the next moment, cold air gushed out of his body and quickly spread in all directions. Wherever it passed, it formed a world of ice and frost. The house exploded, and the endless ice turned into blue swords that pierced into the void. Boom! This phenomenon immediately attracted everyone's attention. Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon were not at the auction, but they were not far away. Therefore, when his house exploded, everyone around him was stunned. Wang Li, Dongfang Xiong, and the others stopped and looked over. There must have been a battle to cause such a commotion. However, they did not see the enemy. They only saw countless ice swords flying in the void. Brother Xian, Wang Li and the others shouted and wanted to attack. No need. Stay at the side and protect yourselves. The enemy's movement technique is very strange. Be careful of his movement technique. Lin Xian reminded Wang Li and the others loudly. Even he was a little shocked by the enemy's strange movement technique, let alone Wang Li and the others. If those people came, they would not be able to stop him. Moreover, Lin Xian did not want to lose his men for no reason. However, he did not plan to let the enemy go. He formed a seal with his hands, and a light blue aura quickly rushed in all directions, forming a huge blue cage that sealed the entire space. At the same time, the cold aura could also slow down the enemy's speed. Sure enough, before long, a black shadow appeared in the air, but then quickly disappeared. Seeing this, Lin Xian sneered. Although the enemy's speed was still very fast, it seemed that he had still been sealed. However, at this moment, his heart thumped again, and a sense of danger surged in his heart. Damn it! Lin Xian's face darkened. He quickly used the blood clone to stay where he was, while his real body quickly retreated to the side. In the next moment, another sharp sword light flashed in the void and quickly pierced the clone's heart. This sword was extremely sharp. Whether it was the power, speed, or angle, they were all perfect. If not for Lin Xian's doppelganger, it would have been difficult for him to escape. Seeing this scene, Lin Xian was enraged. Without another word, he quickly took out the red lotus armor gloves and put them on. Then, he threw a punch at the shadow that was about to disappear. The entire void exploded. Red fist shadows filled the surroundings, and the power swept through the 9 heavens. The mysterious black shadow had already disappeared into the void, but it was forced out by this punch. Facing this terrifying punch, the black-clothed man let out a furious roar and emitted an incomparable aura. 4th level venerable. Feeling this spiritual energy, the surrounding martial artists all exclaimed. When he saw that he couldn't escape, he simply cut off his left arm and used a secret technique to form a substitute in front of him. The long sword fell, bringing with it a bloody mist. A scream was heard, and then an afterimage quickly fled into the sky. Kid, stop chasing. That's the death substitution technique. Seeing that Lin Xian was about to attack, the Crimson Dragon reminded him. The death substitution technique was very special. It could use a part of the body to substitute for death. Therefore, with that person's condition, he could still use it several times. There was no way to kill him. Humph! Lin Xian snorted coldly, and a cold light bloomed in his eyes. At the same time, a purple figure flashed nearby and quickly fled into the distance. Seeing that purple figure, Lin Xian's face darkened again. The tempest wings appeared on his back, shining with mysterious runes. He flapped his wings, turned into a bolt of lightning, and instantly rushed forward. When the purple figure saw Lin Xian chasing after him, his scalp went numb, and he was so scared that he almost peed his pants. That figure was none other than the housemaster of the Purple Demon House, Purple Demon. When he found out that his subordinate was sent flying in front of everyone, he was instantly enraged. Purple Demon couldn't stand a little thief who dared to act like a tyrant and look down on the Purple Demon House just because he was from Senmu College. Therefore, he decided to come to Windseeker City personally to take down that kid and teach him a lesson. According to Big Beard and the others' description, that kid was definitely weaker than him, so he didn't have any concerns. However, as soon as he arrived, he saw Lin Xian kill a 4th-level venerable with a single punch and severely injure another 4th-level venerable with a single slash of his sword. He was instantly stunned, and his face turned green. You call that weaker than me? Chapter 1000. That was a 4th-level venerable. He was an extremely powerful existence, but now he was turned into a bloody mist with a single punch. It was too shocking. This scene deeply stimulated him. One had to know that he was also a 4th-level venerable. Although he had been in this realm for many years, he probably couldn't withstand that violent punch. Now he regretted it so much that he wanted to go back and kill his subordinates immediately. F***CK, this was called not being strong enough? These subordinates were completely tricked. If he didn't know and foolishly rushed forward, he would probably be the one dead now. Purple Devil was so scared that he pissed his pants. He turned around and ran. However, he didn't expect the figure behind him to be so fast and catch up to him in an instant. His scalp went numb. Just as he was about to speak, the void above suddenly fluctuated. A large azure palm had already enveloped him. Terrifying cold air circled around him, forming dragon pillars that imprisoned him in the void. He resisted with all his might, but the cold air was too terrifying. It also contained sharp sword chi, which was not something he could resist. In addition to the psychological trauma from before, Purple Devil didn't have any courage to face Lin Xian. He didn't dare to fight at all. In the next moment, Lin Xian flashed and arrived in front of him. "No, it has nothing to do with me." Feeling the other party's cold gaze, Purple Devil's hair stood on end. He hurriedly distanced himself. He didn't want to have anything to do with those black-robed men. "It has nothing to do with you?" Lin Xian's expression was cold. "It really has nothing to do with me. I am the housemaster of the Purple Demon House. I just happened to encounter this incident." Purple Devil looked helpless. Below, Wang Li and the others also rushed up. "Brother Xian, he is indeed the housemaster of the Purple Demon House, and those people should be assassins. As for whether they are related, I don't know." Yu Fei said from the side, "Give me some time. I can find out." Hearing this, Lin Xian nodded. He looked at Purple Devil again. "Do you know the identities of those two people?" Purple Devil laughed bitterly, his eyes flashing. "Looking at that figure, there's no doubt that it's an assassin. There are countless assassin organizations in the Blood region, but there aren't many organizations that can use a 4th-level venerable as an assassin. I know of 2, Viper and Lifeseeker. These 2 organizations are considered relatively powerful in the world of assassins. Yu Fei, bring some people to investigate these 2 organizations. See if it's them." Then, Lin Xian narrowed his eyes and stared at Purple Devil. He asked coldly, "What are you here for?" "It's nothing." Purple Devil quickly shook his head. Originally, he had come to take revenge, but now, even if he was beaten to death, he wouldn't dare to say such a thing. Ever since he had witnessed Lin Xian's terrifying strength, he no longer dared to harbor any thoughts of revenge. This was 2F***King terrifying. A 4th-rank venerable had been insta-killed. He had never seen such strength before. He had already said that as long as he could escape safely this time, he would take all the martial artists of the Purple Demon House with him and never come to Wind-Seeking City again. "I'm just passing by. I'm really just passing by." Purple Devil braced himself and said, "I hope you're telling the truth. Otherwise, you know what will happen to you." Lin Xian retracted his frost power and didn't pursue the matter. He didn't want to make enemies for no reason now, so he didn't plan to pursue the matter with the Purple Demon House. Of course, if the other party didn't open their eyes and continued to cause trouble for him, then he would have to kill them. Seeing that Lin Xian didn't make a move, Purple Devil felt as if he had been pardoned. He hurriedly turned into a purple light and left the place. "It's fine. You guys can continue with your work," Lin Xian said. After Wang Li and the others left, Lin Xian once again entered a nearby pavilion. This time, he had the Crimson Dragon set up a defensive array. "Kid, is it okay for you to expose the Red Lotus glove like this?" the Crimson Dragon asked. "It's fine. I'll have to use it sooner or later anyway. Moreover, I think it should be able to intimidate them this time. I'll let them know that I, Lin Xian, am not easy to kill. If they want to kill me, they'll have to pay the price in blood." His voice was cold. He was too angry that the other party had sent 2 4th-level, venerable realm assassins to kill him. Moreover, it was at such a critical juncture like the establishment of the auction. It seemed that the other party was determined to get rid of him. Fortunately, his cultivation had improved greatly, and had reached the 4th-level Venerable Realm. Moreover, he had a powerful trump card like the Red Lotus Glove. That was why he was able to escape safely. However, who was it that wanted to kill him? This made him very puzzled. If the other party was an assassin organization, they wouldn't have come to kill him for no reason. Someone must have issued a mission for those assassins to come. However, Lin Xian still had no idea who the mastermind behind the scenes was. He had many enemies, not to mention those far away. He had eliminated the Huang and Long families in Wind-Seeking City. However, if the other party wanted revenge, they would have hired assassins long ago and not waited until now. Making a move at such a critical juncture like the establishment of the immortal martial auction meant that the other party's goal was clear. In other words, this assassination mission was definitely related to the establishment of the auction. The other party's goal was most likely the Wanxiang auction. Of course, it could also be Prince Lingfeng's orders. "Kid, do you have any leads?" the Crimson Dragon asked. "Some. I'm guessing it's the remaining members of the Wanxiang auction. However, I'm not too sure. After all, if it's really them, it'll be troublesome. Of course, we can't rule out the possibility that it's not them. After all, I'm now cooperating with Senmu College. If Prince Lingfeng really wants to make a move, he'll probably do it secretly and not so brazenly. Otherwise, he'll be going against Senmu College." Lin Xian sighed. "Let's wait and see what Yufei can find out." Putting this matter aside for the time being, Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon once again discussed formations. Moreover, not only did they discuss formations, but Lin Xian also learned a lot about formations from the Crimson Dragon. Now, he could also set up some formations. Of course, their power could not be compared to the Crimson Dragons. However, compared to ordinary formation masters, they were much stronger. In the end, Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon decided on 2 formations. These 2 formations were extremely powerful. Even a 6th Firmament Venerable might not be able to break them open. With such a strong guarantee, Lin Xian was completely relieved. Next, it was time to collect materials and prepare to inscribe the formations. Lin Xian left the matter of collecting materials to Wang Li and the others. As for the inscribing of the formations, it was up to the Crimson Dragon. Even for the Dark Red Divine Dragon, it would probably take a lot of time to complete these 3 formations. Lin Xian did not care how much time it would take. What he wanted was safety. Safety. After giving out orders for the auction, Lin Xian quickly received information from Yufei. Chapter 1001. Brother Xian, these 2 organizations are too mysterious. I can't find out much at the moment. Yufei looked guilty. However, one thing is for sure. This assassination has nothing to do with the Purple Demon House. They knew that the enemy was hiding in the dark, but they couldn't find them. This feeling was very unpleasant. It's nothing. After all, you guys have just set up the intelligence network. It's normal that you can't find out anything about this kind of assassin organization. Lin Xian shook his head slightly. He didn't blame Yufei. Indeed, assassin organizations were usually very secretive. Their clients were confirmed with great care. It was difficult for outsiders to find out. How about this? You should develop your own intelligence network first. If you need anything, tell Wang Li and the others. As for the assassins, let's put it aside for now. We must establish a strong intelligence network in the shortest time possible. Brother Xian, I understand. Yufei nodded quickly. After Yufei left, Lin Xian's eyes darkened again. Although Yufei couldn't find out much about the other party, Lin Xian didn't plan to let them go. Thinking about it, these people had failed once, and even lost 2 of their best men. They definitely wouldn't let this matter rest. He just had to wait for the next assassination to catch one of the assassins alive and ask them. Just as Lin Xian was busy setting up the immortal martial auction in Windy City, he suddenly received a piece of news. This news was sent to him by Morong Qingqing. The situation was like this. One of the elders in Morong Qingqing's family was a big shot in the Blood Realm. This time, the elder was celebrating his 800th birthday and invited many people. Morong Qingqing, as the little princess of the family and also in the Blood Realm, naturally had to attend. Senmu College also received the news, but they were preparing to send Lin Xian. Firstly, Lin Xian had a close relationship with Murong Qingqing. Moreover, he was also a young prodigy. It was appropriate for him to participate in such a grand event. Furthermore, Lin Xian had a cooperative relationship with the academy. This time, having Lin Xian go and send an invitation to the auction, he might be able to bring some important figures to the auction in the future. In addition, Lin Xian had a special status in the eyes of Dean Xian and the others, so this task was given to Lin Xian. Looking at the sound transmission jade talisman and the invitation in his hand, Lin Xian helplessly smiled bitterly. He couldn't figure out why he had to attend the birthday banquet of a powerhouse for no reason. However, since the academy had already sent him an invitation, and it was from an elder of the Murong family, Lin Xian couldn't refuse. Therefore, he left the construction of the auction house to Wang Li and Dongfang Shdong. At the same time, he also left the Crimson Dragon here to inscribe the array. He, on the other hand, was preparing to leave and attend the birthday banquet. However, what made him depressed was that Murong Qingqing had already left. Therefore, he had to go alone. When the Crimson Dragon heard this news, it was unhappy. It also wanted to go. F***CK, goddamn brat. Why didn't you bring me along when there was such a good thing? How despicable. The Crimson Dragon roared. Aren't you staying to build the array? What are you going to do? Build my ass. I haven't even gathered all the materials. What's the point of me staying here? The Crimson Dragon was unhappy. Don't worry. Once the materials are gathered, I'll make it quickly. 3 arrays, not one less. The Crimson Dragon said as it patted its chest. All right, then I'll bring you along. Lin Xian sighed. Let's go. Lin Xian said. Why should we go? That place is so far away. The Crimson Dragon showed a look of disdain. Brat, you underestimate Bin Huang. It's just a birthday banquet. Do you want us to fly there by ourselves? F***CK. If you don't go by yourself, do you want someone to pick you up? Lin Xian rolled his eyes. Pick me up? Teleport me. The Crimson Dragon said. It's just a teleportation array. It won't take much time. Wait, give me some time. I'll finish it for you soon. After the Crimson Dragon finished speaking, it eagerly went to inscribe the teleportation array. Since the Crimson Dragon was in charge of the itinerary, he didn't have to worry about it. What gift should he bring to the birthday banquet? After all, the other party was the House of Kings. He couldn't bring out ordinary things, and he couldn't bring out anything good in such a short time. This was really a big problem. Right, alchemy. Lin Xian slapped his head. He had almost forgotten about this. These days, he had been comprehending the knowledge of alchemy left behind by Niwa of Gojoseon. He had a deeper understanding of alchemy. With his current strength, if he gave it his all, refining a 7th-grade alchemy pill shouldn't be a problem. As for the materials, of course, he would ask for them from Senmu College. After all, this was a task given to him by the school. Without delay, Lin Xian immediately set off for the school. This time, he went directly to the 10,000 Treasures Palace to find Wang Dianzhu. Hearing Lin Xian's request, Wang Dianzhu nodded. We did prepare a gift, but if you insist on using a 7th-grade alchemy pill, that's fine. But, are you sure you can really refine it? Wang Dianzhu looked at Lin Xian suspiciously. In fact, a 6th-grade alchemy pill was already quite precious. A 7th-grade alchemy pill was even more precious. In the entire Senmu College, only a few old monsters could refine it. But now, Lin Xian actually said that he could refine a 7th-grade alchemy pill? If Dean Xian hadn't told him about Lin Xian's identity, Wang Dianzhu wouldn't have agreed to such a request. However, since Lin Xian insisted, he had no choice but to give him 3 sets of materials. These are the materials you requested. There are 3 sets in total. If you still can't refine it after 3 tries, I think you should use the gift we prepared. Wang Dianzhu said tactfully. In fact, he didn't have much hope. After all, a 7th-grade alchemy pill wasn't a cabbage. It was something that only a 7th-grade alchemist could refine. 3 sets, about right. I think it should be enough. Lin Xian scratched his head. Hearing this, Wang Dianzhu's mouth twitched. However, he didn't say anything. Instead, he hurriedly sent Lin Xian away. If he stayed any longer, his heart wouldn't be able to take it. Looking at Lin Xian's back as he left, Wang Dianzhu shook his head slightly. Sigh, he's still too young. Lin Xian was very happy to receive 3 sets of materials. He flew towards the mountain of flames and prepared to use the flames there to refine a 7th grade alchemy pill. Last time, he could only reach the 7th level. However, after the Monster Slayers conference, his strength had greatly increased. Now, he could enter the 8th level. The 8th level was filled with a sea of flames. The purple flames danced, emitting a power that made one's heart palpitate. Even Lin Xian felt a wave of shock. He carefully searched the 8th level, looking for a suitable place to refine the alchemy pill. Finally, he came to a huge rock and sat cross-legged on it. Other than being extremely powerful, the flames here had another characteristic, and that was stability. The more stable the flame, the higher the success rate of refining the alchemy pill. Lin Xian knew this very well. With a flip of his hand, he took out a set of materials. Then, he focused and began refining. Chapter 1002. With a flip of his palm, Lin Xian took out a set of medicinal ingredients and began to concoct. However, after half a day, he sighed. The precious medicinal ingredients in front of him had already turned into ashes, scattering all over the ground. As expected of a 7th grade medicinal pill, it was indeed difficult to concoct. Lin Xian's small face frowned. With his current strength, concocting a 6th grade medicinal pill was not a problem. However, concocting a 7th grade medicinal pill was still somewhat difficult. If only he had 10,000 bee sting. Lin Xian sighed. What he lacked the most right now was a top-notch furnace. However, he only dared to think about the 10,000 bee sting. He did not dare to take it out. That terrifying aura was not something he could control now. Taking a deep breath, Lin Xian concentrated and prepared to concoct a second time. During the first concoction, he made a small mistake. However, he had already discovered it. Thinking about it, if he succeeded this time, his strength would increase by quite a bit. However, just as he was about to concoct, a voice suddenly rang out in his ears. Want to concoct a 7th grade medicinal pill? I can help you. Hearing this voice, Lin Xian's hair stood on end. He quickly stood up and scanned his surroundings. At the same time, his soul force rapidly probed the surroundings. Just now, he had carefully scanned the surroundings and did not discover anyone. Moreover, this was the 8th level of the Blazing Mountain. Very few people could come here. Other than a few elders of the Immortal Martial Academy, only Du Guoyin and Li Yunfei could come here. However, the voice just now clearly did not come from the two of them. Moreover, Lin Xian's face quickly darkened. This was because he did not sense anyone suspicious in the surroundings. Lin Xian's face was gloomy. He was extremely cautious because he did not sense anyone suspicious in the surroundings. This was what worried him the most. One must know that his soul force was extremely powerful. However, even he could not sense the other party. One could only imagine how good the other party's concealment skills were. Or it could be said that this was a supreme expert transmitting his voice to him from an extremely far distance. No matter which one it was, the result was not good news for him. Who are you? Why are you acting so sneakily? Lin Xian said coldly as he scanned the surroundings vigilantly. There's no need to look for me. You won't be able to find me. The voice was a little low. Hearing this, Lin Xian's frown deepened. The other party seemed to know his every move, but it seemed that he still didn't know the other party's intentions. Who are you? Why are you trying to act mysterious? If you want to talk about alchemy, you can come out for a chat. Hee, after searching for so long, could it be that you still haven't found where I am? This voice was intermittent and very low, as if it was very unstable. Lin Xian's face was gloomy, and his brows were furrowed. Suddenly, his heart skipped a beat as he thought of a possibility. In the next moment, his soul power entered the mysterious small sword, wanting to find out more about it. Not bad. You finally know where I am. When this voice came out, Lin Xian was completely stunned. His eyes were full of shock, as if he had seen something unbelievable, because he realized that the voice came from the 10,000 beast ding inside his body. The 10,000 beast ding spoke. How was this possible? Lin Xian's eyes widened. and he almost bit his tongue off. Luckily, he was brave, or else he would have been scared to the ground. Very quickly, he thought of a possibility. Because the Crimson Dragon had said before that a complete Earth-level artifact that defied the natural order usually nurtured a artifact spirit. Therefore, this voice could have come from the 10,000 bee stings artifact spirit. You're the 10,000 bee stings artifact spirit? Lin Xian asked probingly. Who would have thought that someone would know about this in such a small and barbaric place? The voice sounded again. That's right. I'm the 10,000 bee stings artifact spirit. Hearing the other party's answer, Lin Xian breathed a sigh of relief. Although the artifact spirit was also very mysterious to him, it was still much safer than an unknown character. You've always existed? He frowned and asked. In fact, Lin Xian was very curious about the existence of the artifact spirit, but he didn't understand why it had only appeared now. No, I just woke up from a deep sleep. I don't know how many years I've been asleep for. Of course, I have to thank you for this. If it weren't for the pure demonic king's blood in the demonic blood pool, I wouldn't have woken up. Perhaps I would have continued to sleep. Demonic blood pool. Hearing this, Lin Xian's pupils shrank. He finally remembered that day in the demonic blood pool, when he tried to communicate with the golden ball of energy in the mysterious small sword. He didn't expect to cause the 10,000 beast ding to move. This artifact spirit should have woken up at that time. Why are you looking for me now? Lin Xian asked cautiously. Although the other party was only an artifact spirit, it was still too mysterious. He had to be careful. With your current strength as a level 6 alchemist, refining a level 7 pill is indeed a bit difficult. No matter how good your talent is, the success rate is still frighteningly low. Rather than wasting materials, why don't I help you refine it? You help me? Why? Lin Xian didn't believe that there was such a thing as a free lunch. I am the artifact spirit of the 10,000 bee sting. With my help, you might be able to control the 10,000 bee sting right now. With the help of the 10,000 bee sting, your success rate will increase tenfold. Don't tell me you don't want to possess a true Earth Step artifact? The artifact spirit threw out a huge temptation. It believed that in the face of a complete Earth Step artifact, even a king would be moved, let alone this young brat. However, Lin Xian's expression was still cold. He decisively shook his head. Although an Earth Step artifact is good, I don't want to take it without knowing what it is. Oh, you refuse? This time, it was the artifact spirit's turn to be surprised. It couldn't imagine where this young brat got the courage to refuse a complete Earth Step artifact. In the face of such a huge temptation, you can still maintain this level of composure. Rare. No wonder the inheritances of the 10,000 beast ding and the Niwa of Gojoseon would fall into your hands in the end. The artifact spirit slowly said, there are naturally conditions for me to help you. I can help you refine pills and even do other things, but you must also help me. Help you? Help you with what? Lin Xian was puzzled. He couldn't think of what an artifact spirit needed help with. To be precise, it's to help the Niwa of Gojoseon. The 10,000 bee stings artifact spirit said, I've spent quite a bit of time with the Niwa of Gojoseon, and I know what he's been through. If you can fulfill his wish, I can help you control the 10,000 bee sting. Help the Niwa of Gojoseon. Hearing this, Lin Xian said, no problem. What help do you need? Tell me. Not only did Senior Niwa of Gojoseon pass on his cultivation to me and increase my cultivation, but he also left behind an alchemy Dao inheritance for me. To me, he's like a master. Even if there's no reward, I'll still help. Chapter 1003. Lin Xian's voice was sonorous. These were words from the bottom of his heart. Because of the Niwa of Gojoseon, he was able to rise from the second heaven of venerables to the third heaven of venerables, which allowed him to display his skills in the demon-slaying world. Not only that, the alchemy inheritance passed down by the Niwa of Gojoseon also benefited him greatly. So now that he heard that he had to fulfill the wish of the Niwa of Gojoseon, Lin Xian immediately agreed without hesitation. Tell me, what do you need help with? Lin Xian asked. It's very simple. As the disciple of the Niwa of Gojoseon, return to the Danzong and obtain the highest honor. The artifact spirit said. The Danzong? Lin Xian frowned. There doesn't seem to be such a sect in the Tianwu continent, right? Of course, the Danzong is not in the Tianwu continent. The artifact spirit said in a deep voice. Not in the Tianwu continent? Hearing that, Lin Xian frowned. Then where is it? He seemed to recall the conversation he had with the remnant soul of the Niwa of Gojoseon. It seemed that there was an even wider world outside the Tianwu continent. Could it be that the so-called Danzong was there? At this time, the artifact spirit of the 10,000 Beast Ding also said in a deep voice. Indeed, the Danzong is in the world outside the Tianwu continent. However, with your current strength, you definitely can't go there. Don't worry, I will do my best to help you improve quickly. Of course, if you can control this place, that would be even better. Although this place is remote, for the current you, the resources are enough. Control the Tianwu continent. Lin Xian almost bit off his tongue. Even the House of Kings would not dare to say such big words. Seeing the look of disbelief on Lin Xian's face, the 10,000 Beast Ding slowly said, Don't worry, with me here, all your dreams will come true. Hearing the item spirit's words, Lin Xian was filled with ambition. Controlling the martial heaven continent and becoming its overlord was something he had never dared to imagine before. But now, he felt that all of this was possible. Taking a deep breath, Lin Xian calmed his shocked mind and said in a deep voice, You better help me control the 10,000 Beast Ding and concoct a 7th grade pill. That's easy, said the spirit of the 10,000 Beast Ding. Although I've just woken up and am still very weak, controlling the 10,000 Beast Ding is not a problem. Then, the void rippled, and a small black cauldron flew out from Lin Xian's body, hovering in the air. Following the appearance of the 10,000 Beast Ding, an invisible pressure spread out, causing the surrounding purple flames to become much dimmer. Even the purple flames did not dare to get close to the 10,000 Beast Ding. Use your soul power to control it now, said the item spirit. Hearing this, Lin Xian nodded. Then, he extended his soul power and quickly enveloped the 10,000 Beast Ding. This time, he felt that it was very easy. He did not receive any rejection from the 10,000 Beast Ding, nor was he affected by the pressure. I can really control it. Lin Xian was pleasantly surprised. The 10,000 Beast Ding was an Earth-tier artifact. If he could control the 10,000 Beast Ding to concoct a pill, his success rate would increase by 10 times. In other words, he could easily concoct a 7th grade pill. Let's give it a try. Lin Xian's heart skipped a beat. With a flip of his hand, he took out another set of ingredients. Then, he focused his qi and began to concoct the pill. 4 hours later, Lin Xian opened his eyes and waved his hand. Buzz. Suddenly, the 10,000 Beast Pavilion in front of him emitted a clang and rippled slightly. Then, a light purple pill appeared in the cauldron. The pill was the size of a longan fruit and was engraved with complicated pill patterns. Looking at the purple pill, Lin Xian was overjoyed. This was a 7th grade pill, the purple spirit pill. It was a pill he found in the inheritance left behind by the Niwa of Gojoseon. This pill was effective for all martial artists in the venerable stage. Even high-level venerables could use it, and the effect was even better. Although this pill could not directly increase one's cultivation or spiritual power, it could help a martial artist to quickly concentrate and enter a very special state. This state was the dream of all martial artists, because in this state, they could clearly perceive all kinds of concepts and perfect their martial souls. Therefore, even though it was just a small medicinal pill, it was extremely rare and precious. Let's concoct another one. Lin Xian was excited. Since he still had one set of materials left, he might as well strike while the iron was hot and concoct them together. He did it as soon as he thought of it. Lin Xian closed his eyes again and entered the concoction state. Not long after, the second pill that was emitting a light purple light appeared in his hand. Looking at the two pills, Lin Xian smiled with satisfaction. One of the pills was kept by him as a gift for attending the birthday banquet, while the other one was for him to consume. After swallowing the light purple spirit pill, Lin Xian felt a chill all over his body. Then, he realized that his mind was unusually sharp, and he seemed to have entered a very special state. In this special state, Lin Xian felt that his perception of various concepts and his two martial souls had become clearer, and there seemed to be an indescribable understanding. This did not last for a long time, only the time it takes for an incense stick to burn. However, Lin Xian knew that he had gained a lot during this period of time. Among them, the Ice Martial Soul and the Great Dragon Sword Soul had become more solid, and their power had increased by a lot. As for the other concepts of wind, lightning, and fire, they had far surpassed before, and there was even a trend of them breaking through to become martial souls. This made Lin Xian very excited. One had to know that he already had two martial souls, and his power was countless times stronger than other martial artists of the same level. If he could condense a third or fourth martial soul, his strength would be unimaginable. Of course, he had never heard of anyone who had a third or fourth martial soul. In the Sky Martial Continent, having two martial souls seemed to be the limit. Lin Xian opened his eyes and stared at the 10,000 bee sting floating in the air in front of him. He asked that, "How should I address you? I can't call you an artifact spirit, right? I'm an artifact spirit, and I don't have a name. How about you call me Zero?" "Zero. All right, I'll call you Zero from now on." "Zero, I have a question for you. You said that you came from a world outside the Sky Martial Continent. Then do you know if martial artists can have a third or fourth martial soul?" "Yes, but it's exclusive to geniuses," Zero replied coldly. Hearing this answer, Lin Xian was excited. As expected, his guess was correct. However, from Zero's words, it seemed that there were many people in the world outside the Sky Martial Continent who had multiple martial souls. "Can you explain it to me in detail?" Lin Xian asked. "All right," Zero said slowly. "You know, the source of energy for martial artists in the Venerable Realm is their martial soul. As their martial soul improves, their strength will also become stronger. However, in the end, those martial souls will undergo a transformation." "Transformation?" Lin Xian was puzzled. "Yes, transformation. It's the transformation from the Venerable Realm to the King Realm. Once you break through to the King Realm, your source of energy will undergo a transformation again, and it will form a special field. This field is similar to a unique space. In this field, the King Realm is the heavens and can control everything. Of course, this field is evolved from the martial soul. King Realm Field." Lin Xian's heart shook. He felt as if a new door of cultivation had opened in front of him. Chapter 1004. Zero's words shocked Lin Xian. He found that a new cultivation door was slowly opening in front of him. "Martial spirits are the foundation of King's domain?" Lin Xian's eyes flickered. "That's right. Even if I don't tell you this knowledge, you will know it as your cultivation increases. However, telling you in advance also has its benefits. That is, you can now think about what your domain should look like." "What should it look like?" Lin Xian frowned. He didn't understand. "It's very simple. Some people have an ice martial spirit, so they can form an ice domain when they become a king. And a fire martial spirit is a fire domain. For attributes like ice and fire, if they fight, it depends on who is stronger. There is no natural restraint, only strength." Zero's voice was extremely cold. Hearing this, Lin Xian's eyes flickered. After thinking for a moment, he said slowly, "These should be the domains formed by martial artists with a single martial spirit." "You are very smart. You guessed right. These are indeed the domains formed by martial artists with a single martial spirit." Zero said, "What about dual martial spirits? Multiple martial spirits?" Lin Xian asked. "It's the same. No matter how many martial spirits you have, they will all form a domain in the end. Of course, different martial spirits form different domains with different strengths. I'm afraid you have already sensed how strong your dual martial spirits are. It should be very easy for you to defeat martial artists of the same level." Seeing Lin Xian nod, Zero continued, "And once it becomes a domain, if it is formed by multiple martial spirits, its strength will be a world of difference compared to martial artists of the same level. The more martial spirits you can form, the stronger the domain will be when you break through to the King Realm. Of course, You have to balance the strength of these martial spirits. Otherwise, the newly formed domain will collapse in an instant. After Zero's explanation, Lin Xian fell into deep thought. He already had 2 martial spirits, and he had also comprehended the other 3 concepts. Moreover, he had already reached the great accomplishment stage. If he could transform the other 3 concepts into martial spirits, then his strength would have an earth-shattering change. Zero, is there a cultivation method for cultivating multiple martial spirits? Lin Xian took a deep breath and asked slowly. Yes, Zero said coldly. And I have to remind you, although a martial artist can cultivate multiple martial spirits, one must be the main and the other martial spirits as support. You'd better think about which martial spirit. Yes, I know. Lin Xian nodded. What else was there to consider? Of course, the great dragon sword spirit was the most powerful offensive saint art in the world. Perhaps even Zero didn't know about it. If you've thought it through, give me the cultivation technique. Not now. Aren't you building an auction? When your auction is officially established and successfully held, I'll give you the cultivation method. Lin Xian rolled his eyes when he heard this. Can I ask why? Yes, I'm doing this to urge you to quickly improve your strength and expand your forces. You have to know that if you want to leave this place and enter the Dawn Zone, you don't just need to be strong. If you don't have a strong organization to back you up, then I'm afraid you won't be able to leave this place. I'll help you grasp the direction in the dark and remind you what you should do. Lin Xian rolled his eyes. It seemed like he had boarded a pirate ship and couldn't get out. However, he didn't regret it. His life's goal was to pursue the pinnacle of the martial Tao. Now that he had a capable helper by his side to remind him, his speed would probably increase by a lot. What kind of force do I need to leave this place? Very strong, at least an overlord-level force. When the time comes and with my help, you might be able to leave this place. All right, I got it. Lin Xian nodded. It seemed like he wouldn't be able to do it in a short period of time. However, this made him heave a sigh of relief. This was because he still had things to do in the Tianwu continent. He also had to return to the Tiannan region to save his family. Can we communicate directly in the future? Lin Xian asked. Yes, you can communicate directly with your soul. Of course, there are some things that I may not answer you. Lin Xian was speechless. He was speechless. This 10,000 bee stings weapon spirit had a weird temper. Shaking his head slightly, Lin Xian recalled the 10,000 bee sting back into his body. Then, he got up and left the 8th level of the Mountain of Flames. This time, he didn't return to the academy. Instead, he flew directly to Windy City. Next, he just had to wait for the Crimson Dragon to finish inscribing the teleportation formation. Then, he could teleport directly. When Lin Xian returned to Windy City, the Crimson Dragon had already completed more than half of it. He estimated that it would be done in another day. The next morning, the Crimson Dragon ran over excitedly. Kid, the formation is complete. Let's go. All right. Lin Xian nodded and followed the Crimson Dragon out. The two of them came to a place where there was no one. On the ground, there were countless strange inscriptions that formed a teleportation formation. This is a one-time teleportation formation. After we leave, these inscriptions will disappear. Don't worry, no one will find out. The Crimson Dragon patted its chest and said, That's good. Lin Xian nodded and walked onto the teleportation formation. The Crimson Dragon also jumped onto it and waved its dragon claws. Suddenly, the teleportation formation under their feet shone and formed a strange force that teleported the two of them away. With a flash of white light, the two of them disappeared. The complicated inscriptions on the ground quickly disintegrated and turned into spiritual energy that dissipated in the air. Then, there was nothing left on the ground. It was as if nothing had existed before. It felt like a long time had passed. Lin Xian didn't know how much time had passed. Finally, with a flash of white light, he appeared again. The next moment, he channeled the spiritual energy in his body to quickly eliminate the dizziness caused by the teleportation. The surging spiritual energy surged in his body, creating a warm energy. In an instant, Lin Xian recovered. Then, with a flash of white light, the Crimson Dragon appeared beside him. As soon as the Crimson Dragon appeared, it looked around and shouted, "Damn! What the hell is this place?" Lin Xian's eyes were gloomy and his face was ugly, because the surroundings were not very good. It was a little dark, and the air was mixed with a trace of cold and bloody smell. At first glance, it was not a good place. "Ruzalong, where did your teleportation formation send you?" Lin Xian gritted his teeth and asked. "Of course it's Crimson Crescent City. Aren't you going there for the birthday banquet?" The Crimson Dragon was a little guilty. "This is Crimson Crescent City?" Lin Xian looked around and rolled his eyes. "You'd better explain it to me." Chapter 1005. This is Crimson Crescent City? Lin Xian looked around and rolled his eyes. "You better give me an explanation." "That," the Crimson Dragon said awkwardly, "I haven't fought for a long time, and my strength has been greatly reduced recently. Maybe there was a small mistake when I was setting it up." Hearing this, Lin Xian spat out a mouthful of blood. A small mistake? He glared at the Crimson Dragon. He didn't expect this guy to be so unreliable. He even made a mistake with the teleportation formation. One had to know that this was teleportation. The slightest mistake could cause a huge difference in the outcome. Lin Xian could only pray that the Crimson Dragon God didn't make too many mistakes. Otherwise, they might not even be in the Blood Realm. Looking around, Lin Xian's face darkened. "Damn Ruzalong. I don't know what mistake he made to teleport us to such an unknown place." Looking around, it was obviously not a good place. "Impossible. I just made a small mistake. It's impossible to teleport us so far," the Crimson Dragon said. "Kid, don't worry. This place is definitely very close to Crimson Crescent City." "I hope so," Lin Xian sighed. However, there was nothing he could do. He could only walk outside to see what this place was. Lin Xian looked up and found that it was a little dark. It wasn't the sky. He guessed that they were probably in a building or a cave. However, the more he walked, the more confused he became. This was because he found that there were rows of black mountains in front of him. They were incomparably dark, like demonic mountains in hell. On the mountain peak, there were dark trees that emitted a strange aura. There were also some dilapidated palaces around. They were covered in cobwebs. It was obvious that they were very old. Looking at the eerie surroundings, the Crimson Dragon felt its hair stand on end. The two of them didn't speak and quickly ran forward. Soon, they arrived at the foot of the nearest mountain. Standing at the foot of the mountain, the gloomy aura became even more terrifying. Fortunately, Lin Xian's strength was strong. He circulated the spiritual energy in his body and formed a defensive barrier, blocking the terrifying aura around him. The Crimson Dragon had thick skin and flesh, so it was naturally not afraid of the invasion of the aura. The two of them stood at the foot of the mountain and looked up. This black mountain peak wasn't very tall. It was slightly shorter than a normal mountain peak. There were a few palaces on it, but they were all in ruins. "I think we've arrived at an ancient place. This should be the ancient underground world." "Underground world?" Lin Xian frowned. "Well, it looks like it," said the Crimson Dragon. "Should we go up and take a look?" "All right." Lin Xian was curious, so he also wanted to go up and take a look. After the two of them finished discussing, they walked along the path towards the Black Mountain Peak. However, not long after they ascended the mountain peak, the two of them were unable to continue. The reason for that was because piles of bones would appear on the winding mountain path from time to time. Those were all human bones, and many of them were emitting a faint light. One could imagine how powerful these people were when they were alive. However, even so, these people were now a pile of bones. Lin Xian was scared and didn't dare to go up anymore. The Crimson Dragon was also bewildered. However, it soon became excited because it smelled a faint medicinal fragrance on the mountain peak. "Boy, Lin, let Little White out quick." The Crimson Dragon couldn't wait. However, before Lin Xian could react, the little white monkey flew out of the demonic beast pouch. It also looked at the mountain peak and chirped nonstop. However, to Lin Xian's relief, the little white monkey didn't act rashly this time, as if it was afraid of something. It only scratched its ears and cheeks and didn't fly out. Lin Xian breathed a sigh of relief. Otherwise, If he let the little white monkey fly out from such a dangerous place, the result would be very dangerous. Boy, don't you smell it? That's the smell of top-grade spiritual medicine, the Crimson Dragon said excitedly. I smell it, but how do we go up? Lin Xian shrugged his shoulders. He didn't want to take the risk. Wait a moment. The Crimson Dragon began to carefully explore the front. Then it frowned and said, there are inscriptions on the ground. These inscriptions are very ancient. One look and I can tell that they are ancient inscriptions. I think this is a killing array. After the Crimson Dragon finished studying the inscriptions on the Black Mountain Peak, it suddenly jumped up. Damn, this is an ancient killing array. It didn't dare to move recklessly. Hearing this, Lin Xian's face also darkened. He tightly hugged the little white monkey, afraid that it would run out in excitement. At the same time, he stared fiercely at the Crimson Dragon. This Rousalong was too unreliable. He actually teleported him into a killing array. Hee. The Crimson Dragon laughed dryly, then said, although it is an ancient killing array, the inscriptions are very dim. I think that under the effect of time, its power has weakened a lot. Give me some time, maybe I can break it. The corners of Lin Xian's mouth twitched when he heard this. Give you time? The last time I gave you time, you were teleported into this killing formation. Now that I give you time again, who knows what kind of trouble you'll cause again? Forget it, this place is too dangerous. Let's quickly retreat and find a way out. Xiao Xuanzi, you are too cowardly. The Crimson Dragon said disdainfully, this should be an underground world. The way out is above, but do you really want to give up on those spiritual medicines? According to my experience, those are extinct. You can't see them in the outside world at all. Moreover, they are thousands of years old. They are really top-grade spiritual medicines. By the way, don't you still have the Xian Jade platform? Why don't we try it? If there is a problem, we can immediately escape with the Xian Jade platform. Hearing this, Lin Xian was also a little tempted. After thinking about it, he finally nodded. Okay. Seeing that Lin Xian agreed, the Crimson Dragon was also excited. Don't worry, we won't go to those places with palaces. We will only pick the top-grade spiritual medicines nearby. Then, it led the way, and Lin Xian followed behind with the little white monkey in his arms. Fortunately, the Crimson Dragon was a master of formations and had a certain way to break the mysterious inscriptions underground. The two walked for more than 10 meters and did not find any danger for the time being. But at this time, the 10,000 beast ding device spirit in Lin Xian's body, Zero, warned, boy, if you don't want to die, hurry up and go down the mountain. Hearing this warning, Lin Xian's heart trembled. At the same time, he shouted in a low voice, retreat. Then, his body swayed and he retreated as fast as lightning. Seeing this, the Crimson Dragon had no choice but to leave quickly. However, when they reached the foot of the mountain, the Crimson Dragon began to complain. Xiao Xuanzi, you are too cowardly. We are already halfway. Why did you come down? If we had held on a little longer, maybe we could have picked a top-grade spiritual medicine. I am afraid that if we had stayed a little longer, we would have died, Lin Xian said angrily. If you don't believe me, feel your body. Chapter 1006. I'm afraid that if we stay any longer, we'll lose our lives, Lin Xian said angrily. If you don't believe me, feel your own body. After saying that, Lin Xian ignored him and focused on running the longevity chant, allowing the spiritual energy to fully circulate in his body. The Crimson Dragon was puzzled. It quickly checked its own body, and then its face turned pale. I'm poisoned. When did this happen? It was shocked because it did not know when it was poisoned, and the poison had already accumulated in its body. Just as Lin Xian said, if they stayed on the mountain for any longer, the poison in their bodies would completely erupt. If they could not suppress the poison, they would be in danger. The Crimson Dragon did not dare to be careless. It quickly activated its secret method to expel the poison from its body. The Snow-White Monkey also hugged the small worn-out bowl and mumbled nonstop. On the surface of its body, a layer of white light bloomed. After a while, Lin Xian opened his eyes and breathed a sigh of relief. The poison in his body had been completely expelled, but the scene just now made him extremely vigilant. If Zero had not secretly warned him, they would have been in danger. Damn it, this place is too evil. The Crimson Dragon opened its eyes and muttered. Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon had expelled the poison from their bodies and narrowly avoided this disaster. Damn it, this place is too evil, the Crimson Dragon muttered. Lin Xian's brows were tightly knitted together as he looked forward once again. I think that the corpses on the mountain path are all the warriors who were poisoned. Lin Xian shook his head slightly. There must have been people like them who wanted to go up the mountain to pick the best spiritual herbs, but these people were all infected by the poison. In the end, they could not cure the poison and died on the mountain. There were only a few lucky people like them. However, the snow-white monkey did not give up. It hugged the small worn-out bowl in its hands and began to mumble. Then, the small bowl emitted a mysterious power that surged toward the Black Mountain. Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon held their breaths and waited patiently because they knew the power of the treasure basin. Perhaps it would be of use here, and they would be able to obtain 1 or 2 top-grade spirit herbs. The little white monkey kept waving its little paws and hitting the small bowl. Not long after, the small bowl trembled slightly and a supreme-grade spirit fruit appeared in the bowl. It was a spiritual herb that was 10 feet tall. Its leaves were emerald green, and it exuded an endless amount of vitality. On its branches, there were 4 spiritual fruits that were sparkling and translucent, with a thick fragrance. I really got it. Lin Xian's eyes were wide open, while the Crimson Dragon's mouth was wide open from ear to ear, drooling nonstop. We're rich, we're really rich this time. Kid, hurry up and get a few more. This kind of thing was definitely rare. If he didn't get it now, it would be a huge loss. The Crimson Dragon urged from the side, while the snow-white little fox was also scratching its ears and cheeks in excitement. It waved its little paws and decided to show off its skills. However, on the Black Mountain in front of them, in the dilapidated palace, suddenly, there was a low sound. It sounded like the morning bell and evening drum. It kept ringing. The sound carried a terrifying demonic nature, causing one's heart to beat uncontrollably. Lin Xian's expression changed drastically because he felt the blood in his body boiling, and his heart felt like it was about to explode. Fortunately, his body had been strengthened by so many heavenly treasures, and his physique was extremely tough. At that moment, he was able to withstand the demonic sound. However, all the hair on his body stood up, and his back was covered in cold sweat. In the next moment, he quickly activated the Red Lotus armor and covered his body. The Crimson Dragon also jumped into the defense of the Red Lotus armor and looked ahead in bewilderment. What's that? Lin Xian asked in a low voice. Damn it, there are living things in this place. Xiao Xuanzi, let's go. The Crimson Dragon did not want to stay for a moment longer. It did not want any supreme-grade spirit fruits anymore. The little white monkey also quieted down. It sat on Lin Xian's shoulder and blinked its big black eyes as it looked ahead. A living thing. Hearing this, Lin Xian's expression turned ugly. Without saying anything, he quickly retreated. It was obvious that this was a place of great danger. So many experts had died on the Black Mountain. However, at this moment, a living thing had appeared in the dilapidated palace on the Black Mountain. Whether it was a human or not, it was extremely dangerous for them. Therefore, Lin Xian did not hesitate. He turned around and quickly left. However, just as he moved, endless black chi suddenly rose from the Black Mountain behind him. It formed a black, demonic cloud above him, emitting a monstrous and terrifying aura. A black shadow flew out of the dilapidated palace and stood in the void. Demonic chi surged around him, and it was extremely terrifying. Lin Xian separated a strand of his soul and looked behind him. Suddenly, his scalp went numb. The black shadow behind him was a person, but it did not look like a living person at all. Demonic chi surrounded his body. His eyes were hollow, and there were green flames dancing in his eye sockets. His entire body was rotten and emitted a strong corpse stench. Damn it, is this a mutation caused by some expert's corpse? The Crimson Dragon was also shocked because the aura of the figure behind him was too terrifying. Zombie, it's definitely a zombie. Kid, hurry up and leave. The figure behind him was wearing an ancient robe and was extremely tall. He must have been a peerless expert when he was alive. However, at this moment, he was emitting a monstrous and cold aura. He looked extremely ferocious. Then, the ancient zombie took a step forward. Suddenly, the void cracked and countless black cracks spread in all directions. A huge black hole appeared in the space. Seeing this, Lin Xian did not dare to stay any longer. He used an earth-tier movement technique and turned into a ray of light to retreat. At the same time, he raised his hand and threw out a mysterious jade platform to quickly teleport away. A terrifying figure who could shatter the void with one step and create an endless black hole was definitely extremely powerful. It was far from what he could fight against right now. Sure enough, the moment Lin Xian stepped on the mysterious jade platform, a huge ghost claw descended from the sky and slammed down. Bang! The void in front of him cracked and another terrifying black vortex appeared. Fortunately, Lin Xian and the others had already left through the mysterious jade platform. According to Lin Xian's guess, they had arrived in an underground world. Therefore, they tried to teleport upwards this time. With a flash of light, Lin Xian and the others appeared on the ground. Stepping on solid ground, Lin Xian breathed a sigh of relief. However, he did not dare to stay there. Instead, he quickly flew forward for dozens of miles before stopping. After waiting for an hour, he found that the terrifying zombie did not come out. Only then did he relax completely. Chapter 1007. F***CK. That scared Bin Huang to death. The Crimson Dragon was also scared. How dare you say that? Lin Xian rolled his eyes at him. If it weren't for you, we wouldn't have come to such a dangerous place. But I didn't expect there to be such a terrifying place in the Blood Realm. The Crimson Dragon said, It seems to be an ancient ruin, but I don't know why it was buried underground. It seems that the Blood Realm is not simple. There should be some ancient secrets buried here. Forget it, who cares? If the zombie really comes out, the kings here will deal with it, so we don't have to worry. The Crimson Dragon shook his head, then looked at the supreme grade spirit fruit in the little monkey's hand and smiled flatteringly. Little one, give me one. The little white monkey had a proud look on its face. First, it plucked a spirit fruit and gave it to Lin Xian. Then, it reluctantly gave one to the dark red dragon. The other two were quickly swallowed by the dragon. After eating the two supreme grade spirit fruits, the little white monkey squinted its crescent-shaped eyes and looked intoxicated. The Crimson Dragon also smiled and swallowed the supreme grade spirit fruit in his hand. He would not keep such a good thing. Lin Xian looked at the two gluttons, one big and one small. He shook his head helplessly. He turned his hand over. He put the supreme grade spirit fruit in his storage ring. As an alchemist, he would not waste a supreme grade spirit fruit like this. He would at least make it into spirit wine or spirit pills. Moreover, with Zero's help, Lin Xian could now control 10,000 bee sting, so refining 7th grade spirit pills was not a problem for him. What he needed most now were supreme grade spirit herbs. After putting away the supreme grade spirit fruit, Lin Xian looked into the distance again. He would remember this place. He decided that when he was stronger in the future, he would come here again and pick all the supreme grade spirit fruits. Then, the two of them flew into the sky. Not long after, they saw a city. It seemed that even though Ruzalong was unreliable, he still managed to teleport to somewhere near Red Crescent City. After entering the city, Lin Xian discovered that it was very lively inside. The people coming and going were all young talents, and there were also some very dignified big shots. These people all walked in the same direction with excitement on their faces. Hey, have you guys heard? It's said that the heavenly daughter of the Morong family will also be attending this birthday banquet. Of course, I've heard about it a long time ago. I must show off my skills at this birthday banquet. If I can get Morong Qingqing's favor, I can directly enter the Morong family. In your dreams, you think you can do that? Beat me first. Everyone was chattering, obviously very excited. Lin Xian was speechless. Were these people here to attend the birthday banquet or to look at the beauties? However, he found that most of the people who said these words were young martial artists. Obviously, they all had some beautiful dreams of a pie falling from the sky. Red Crescent City was different from other cities because the entire city was a huge mansion. There were pavilions, mountains, and waterfalls everywhere. There were all kinds of rare beasts walking on the ground. Lin Xian was flabbergasted as he watched. He exclaimed in his heart, as expected of the Morong clan, an elder could actually own a city and use it as his own residence. This was simply too imposing and too shocking. As he walked further in, the scenery changed again. Rows of palaces and pavilions stood on the ground like shining stars. It was incomparably magnificent. Many red-crowned cranes were circling around it. It was like a paradise on earth. That was just the periphery. The real core area was in front of him. In front, there were 2 rows of young disciples greeting guests. These disciples were all very handsome. They were wearing white robes with the Morong family's emblem on their chests. Although they greeted him with smiles, their eyes could not hide their arrogance. You can't bring your pet in. Suddenly, a disciple of the Morong family stopped Lin Xian. Forget about the monkey, but you can't bring this snake in. Damn you, what's wrong with your eyes? You're the snake. Your whole family are snakes. Before Lin Xian could say anything, the Crimson Dragon roared. It was from the Divine Dragon clan. It hated it when others called it a snake. Although, it looked like a snake now. Hearing this voice, the surrounding people were surprised. They looked over. The disciple of the Morong family was also surprised. This snake could talk? Brat, if you dare to talk about Bin Huang will beat you up. The Crimson Dragon gritted its teeth. It had recovered part of its strength, so it was not afraid. Anyway, these people could not catch it. Being threatened by a snake, the disciple of the Morong family's face darkened. He then glared at Lin Xian. Your snake has violent tendencies. You can't go in. Although a talking snake was mysterious, as a disciple of the Morong family, they had seen all kinds of strange things. Not to mention a snake, they had even seen skeletons that could talk. Therefore, after the initial shock, these people calmed down. Hearing this, Lin Xian's face darkened. That was because he saw a group of people riding on exotic beasts being respectfully welcomed into the building by the workers. Those were demon generals. They were extremely powerful. If there was a danger, those demon generals would be more dangerous. However, the disciples of the Morong family did not stop them. Instead, they stopped Lin Xian. It was obvious that those people were not ordinary warriors. Although Lin Xian had an extraordinary appearance, he was dressed plainly. Moreover, he came here alone. At first glance, they could tell that he was not a disciple of a powerful force. Therefore, these people of the Morong family did not treat him well. Brat, which family are you from? Do you have an invitation? Where is your elder? Call him over. Another woman stood out and spoke even more harshly. You don't have the right to meet my elder, Lin Xian said coldly with his hands behind his back. He could tell that these people were obviously looking for trouble and wanted to bully him. Although he did not know the reason, he could guess that although these people were disciples of the Morong family, their real status was not high. Otherwise, they would not have been assigned to be doormen. Therefore, although they seemed to be of high status to outsiders, their real status was relatively low. Therefore, these people had a twisted mentality. In addition, they had to greet those important people with a smile. Therefore, their mentality was even more twisted. This time, seeing that Lin Xian seemed easy to bully, of course, they would treat him coldly to show their status as disciples of a powerful family. However, they were obviously looking for the wrong person. This was because the young man in front of them was not afraid of their scolding. Instead, a fierce aura surged from his body, causing their hearts to tremble slightly. This made them even angrier. Chapter 1008. A few of the disciples of the Morong family were enraged and emitted a terrifying aura. Although they were just doormen, they were still disciples of the Morong family and the people of the House of Kings. Now, an unknown young man dared to threaten them. He had committed a heinous crime. In their eyes, Lin Xian's actions were unforgivable. How dare you? What are you trying to do? Are you trying to rebel? The woman shouted coldly. Young man, you've come to the wrong place if you're looking for trouble. This is not a place for you to behave atrociously. The young man snorted. Get out of here, or don't blame us for being impolite. A disdainful smile appeared on the corner of Lin Xian's mouth when he heard this. These people were really used to being arrogant. He hadn't done anything yet, but they had already labeled him as a troublemaker. The group of disciples of the Morong family were aggressive and did not take Lin Xian seriously at all. The Crimson Dragon was unhappy. What's with your attitude? You invited me here, and now you're treating me like this. Why? Are you looking down on me? A group of dogs. If it wasn't for the Morong family, Ben Huang wouldn't have come even if you invited Ben Huang. Hearing this, the surrounding martial artists were stunned. They did not expect that someone would dare to provoke the Morong family. Moreover, he was in the Morong family's territory. Where did this young man come from? How dare he be fearless of the Morong family? Who knows? Look at him. There's only a snake beside him. He doesn't have any servants and he's not dressed well. He's definitely not a disciple of a big family. Maybe he's just a young man. The group of people discussed among themselves. They all thought that Lin Xian was dead meat. As for the disciples of the Morong family, they were so angry that their bodies started to tremble. Young man, how dare you talk nonsense and threaten us? I think you don't know how to write the word death. The few of them looked ferocious and wanted to attack. They all had cold smiles on their faces as powerful auras emanated from their bodies. They formed a circle and surrounded Lin Xian. Lin Xian, however, was not afraid. Although those people opposite him were aggressive and looked very powerful to outsiders, they were not a threat to him. The atmosphere between the two sides was tense, and it seemed like a fight was about to break out. At this moment, a tender voice sounded from afar. Stop! Hearing this voice, Lin Xian turned cold. The faces of the disciples of the Morong family changed as they stopped in their tracks. The surrounding people were also surprised. They did not expect that someone would come out to stop them. However, looking at the appearance of the Morong family's disciples, the identity of the person who came should not be simple. Sure enough, a ray of light flashed, and a figure rushed over from afar, appearing in front of everyone. This was a beautiful woman. She wore a light yellow dress, and her appearance was pretty and cute. However, there was a hint of anger in her eyes. Sister Linger. The disciples of the Morong family shouted respectfully. Lin Xian smiled. So it's you. The person who came was none other than the little girl by the Morong Qingqing side, Linger. Linger put her hands on her waist and said softly, This is Lin Xian, Lin Gongzi. He is the guest invited by the young Mississippi. How dare you stop him? Quickly leave. The young miss invited him. When the disciples of the Morong family heard this, their bodies trembled and their eyes were filled with shock. At the same time, they were extremely frightened and regretful. They did not expect that the young man in front of them was the guest invited by the young Mississippi, Lin Gongzi. We did not know your identity. Please forgive us. A few disciples of the Morong family said. It's nothing. Lin Xian shook his head slightly. After all, the other party was a disciple of the Morong family. Moreover, today was Elder Morong's birthday banquet. He would not disrespect the Morong family over such a small matter. Moreover, the other party had apologized and seemed to be quite frightened. He guessed that they would not dare to cause trouble for him in the future. Lin Gongzi, please follow me. Linger gestured for Lin Xian to follow her. Lin Xian nodded slightly and followed Linger inside. After Lin Xian left, the disciples of the Morong family heaved a sigh of relief. However, their faces were still filled with fear. It was too dangerous just now. If the other party did not give up and insisted on going to the young miss, they would definitely be punished. Fortunately, they were safe now. However, they decided that they would not provoke the other party in the future. The surrounding people were even more shocked. This outcome was completely different from what they had imagined. They had originally thought that the young man would be thrown out by the disciples of the Morong family and be taught a lesson. However, they did not expect that someone would respectfully invite him in. Moreover, the young miss that Linger mentioned had piqued their interest. To be able to cause these disciples of the Murong family to be so frightened, her identity must be extraordinary. However, they did not think that it was the Murong Qingqing. After all, there were quite a few core disciples of the Murong family who had come this time. Moreover, these people did not expect that Lin Xian would be related to the Murong Qingqing. If they knew, their jaws would definitely drop to the ground. Lin Xian followed Linger and walked towards the front of the palace. "You brat, what tricks did you use to trick the young miss into inviting you here?" Linger said fiercely. "I'm warning you, don't you dare have any ideas about my young Mississippi, otherwise I'll teach you a lesson." Obviously, the little girl had received orders from the Murong Qingqing to come here. However, she did not have a good impression of Lin Xian. Lin Xian smiled bitterly and touched his nose. He did not answer. At this time, anything he said would be wrong. Therefore, it was better not to say anything. The front of the palace became lively again. Many martial artists came and went. Moreover, their status and temperament were far superior to those in the periphery. Humph! Suddenly, a cold snort was heard. It was filled with hostility. Lin Xian turned his head slightly and sneered. Because not far away, Willow Lance was staring at him with hatred. The murderous intent in his eyes was about to condense. However, Lin Xian did not care. He knew that the other party would not dare to make a move. Sure enough, Willow Lance was staring at him and did not do anything. "You really know how to cause trouble. You just arrived and already provoked people?" Linger frowned. "It's nothing. He was an enemy in the past. However, I won't lower myself to his level now," Lin Xian said lightly. Indeed, if it was in the past, Lin Xian would definitely treat Willow Lance as an opponent. However, after this period of tempering, his strength and vision were much higher. Someone like Lu Chong was no longer worthy of his attention. "I'm warning you. Don't be careless. Although Willow Lance is nothing, his family is not to be underestimated." Linger thought for a moment and reminded him. "Oh, what's so special about him?" Lin Xian asked. He really did not know. "He's one of Prince Ling Feng's men," Linger said, "and he's not an ordinary person. There are 8 great clans under young Master Ling Feng. They are very powerful and General Lu is one of them." This made them feel as if they had punched the air, and they couldn't muster up any more strength. Linger, who was leading the way, also felt dizzy. She didn't expect Lin Xian to have a feud with the Shin family other than the Ryu family. Although these people weren't the core disciples of the Shin family was still the House of Kings. They were as powerful as the Murong family, and their strength couldn't be underestimated. "You're the first time I've seen someone as arrogant as you who lives off a woman." At this time, a few disciples of the Ryu family walked up and sneered. "I don't know if he lives off a woman, but I do see a few envious rabbits." Lin Xian shook his head slightly. "Oh my, their eyes are as red as rubies." He smiled disdainfully and couldn't be bothered to pay attention to these people. "What did you say? Who's the rabbit? Explain yourself. Envious? We're envious of you? What a joke." The disciples of the Shin family and Ryu family were enraged when they heard Lin Xian's words. They glared at Lin Xian fiercely. "What's wrong? Did I hit a sore spot?" Lin Xian sneered. "A powerful person wouldn't care about what others say. That's because he's powerful and doesn't need to be judged by others. Only those who aren't powerful would jump around all day as if they were afraid that others wouldn't know of their existence. These clowns are only fit to be a joke. They're not even worth mentioning when it comes to the real fight." Lin Xian's voice was like a sharp sword that pierced deeply into their hearts. Willow Lance, Shun Yaotian, and the others trembled in anger. "Clowns? You're the first one who dares to say that to a disciple of the Shun family." A cold voice sounded, and everyone's hearts trembled. Everyone looked back and saw a very handsome man walking over from afar. He was holding a jade wine cup in his hand, and his face was extremely cold. Although he didn't deliberately release his aura, he was like a god of war, giving people a sense of infinite oppression. So powerful. Feeling the pressure, the surrounding martial artists' faces changed. "He's too powerful. This young man is definitely at the fourth sky of Venerable Realm. A fourth sky of Venerable Realm was already an expert. Who was this young man? How could he have such terrifying strength at such a young age? The surrounding martial artists were shocked. As for Shun Yaotian and the others, their faces were filled with excitement and joy. Brother Yulong. Shun Yaotian and the others shouted excitedly. Ling Er also frowned slightly. She didn't expect things to become so complicated. Be careful. The person is Shen Yulong, a core disciple of the Shen family. His strength is definitely not comparable to Shen Yaotian and the others. Ling Er quickly sent a voice transmission to Lin Xian, a core disciple of the Shen family. Hearing this, Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. He could naturally feel the powerful aura of the other party. This is a core disciple of the Shen family? Very strong. Even in Senma College, he should be in the top 10. As expected of the House of Kings. It's really strong. Lin Xian sighed in his heart. Although he didn't get along with the other party, he had to admit that the strength of a core disciple of the House of Kings was absolutely terrifying. However, he still couldn't intimidate the other party. Shin Yulong. He's Shin Yulong. At this time, the surrounding martial artists also exclaimed. He was a core disciple of the Shin family. No wonder his aura was so strong. They didn't expect to meet a core disciple of the House of Kings. It seemed that this banquet wasn't in vain. The surrounding martial artists were excited. It couldn't be helped. The House of Kings was the overlord of the Tianwu continent. It was the most sacred place in everyone's heart. And the core disciples of the House of Kings were even more peerless geniuses. People looked up to them. Shin Yulong's expression was cold. He walked over slowly with a jade wine cup in his hand. When he stopped in front of Lin Xian, the corner of his mouth curled up in a disdainful smile. He had heard of Lin Xian's name for a long time. He was just a kid with no background. He only had some talent. Yet, he dared to approach Murong Qingqing. He really didn't know how to write the word death. Today, he wanted to see what kind of ability this kid had. Shin Yulong's appearance shocked the surrounding martial artists. The Shin family's disciples were even more excited. Shin Yaotian clenched his fist and looked at Lin Xian with a sneer. Humph. Let's see how long you can be arrogant in front of Brother Yulong. Chapter 10:10. Why? You look so confident. Could it be that you're better at living off a woman? Lin Xian said casually. Lin Xian didn't care about Shun Yulong's identity and strength at all, so he wasn't polite in his words. Lin Xian wasn't afraid of Shun Yulong's strength. The crowd was shocked. Who was Shun Yulong? He was a core disciple of the Shin family and a genius warrior of the House of Kings. When such a person walked outside, the elders and patriarchs of the family would have to salute him. But now someone dared to provoke him. This was too shocking. Who is that kid? What's his background? Do you know? Could he be a disciple of a top force? Not sure. I've never seen him before. The crowd was discussing and guessing Lin Xian's identity. In their opinion, if he dared to go against a core disciple of the Shin family, he must be a disciple of a top force. However, after asking around, they found that no one knew Lin Xian. In fact, the reason was simple. Lin Xian was only a famous person in Senma College. These people came from all over the Blood Realm and weren't even disciples of the college. So it was normal that they hadn't heard of Lin Xian. But Shun Yulong's face darkened when he heard this. A little disciple of Senma College dared to talk to him like this. He must have eaten a bear's heart and a leopard's guts. Kid, you're very brave. But do you know the consequences of saying this? Shun Yulong's voice was cold with a hint of killing intent. Then you don't know the consequences of saying this to me? Lin Xian didn't back down. Seeing this, the eyes of the surrounding warriors almost popped out. It was the first time they saw someone dare to go against Shun Yulong. Good. Brat, you've got guts. You're the first one who dares to threaten me, Shun Yulong. After the banquet, let's have a good spar. Let me see if your strength is as good as your mouth. Shin Yulong said coldly. His eyes were shining with cold light. That's exactly what I was looking for. I also want to see what the core disciples of the Shin family are like. Lin Xian sneered, not caring at all. Humph, he's just a disciple from Senmu College. Brother Yulong, You don't have to do anything. Another cold shout was heard. Then, a tall figure appeared in everyone's field of vision. This was also a young man. His appearance was extremely coarse, and he carried a type of wild beauty. He took a step forward and instantly traversed several hundred feet. In just 2 or 3 steps, he had arrived in front of everyone. So fast. What exquisite footwork! Everyone gasped in surprise. This kind of speed had already exceeded their expectations. Needless to say, the person who came was another top youth expert. Big Brother. Seeing this wild young man, Willow Lance shouted excitedly. The other disciples of the Ryu family also shouted excitedly. Big Brother Lu Yil. I want to see who is the one who dares to spout such arrogant words and fight with Brother Yulong. Lu Yil's figure was tall, and his eyes were sharp. He was like a peerless, ferocious beast with a terrifying aura. Seeing this scene, Linger sighed. As expected, the Ryu family had also interfered. Given the current situation, Lin Xian was most likely in danger. She sighed and could only say quickly, "Everyone, this Lin Gongzi was invited by our Mississippi. I hope you won't stop him. Miss Linger, we will give face to Miss Qingqing. However, what did this guy do to deserve Miss Qingqing's favor? I think Miss Qingqing might have been deceived by him. Now, I'm going to reveal his ugly face." Lu Lai's voice was sonorous like a clap of thunder. Miss Qingqing? Could it be Murong Qingqing? Hearing this, the crowd was shocked. They did not expect this young man to be personally invited by Murong Qingqing. This was too shocking. One had to know that even Shen Yulong, Lu Lai, and the others did not have such prestige. Moreover, from Lu Yil's words, this young man seemed to be a disciple of Sinma College. However, they did not know when Sinma College had such a disciple. However, from today onwards, Lin Xian's name would be known by these people. I also want to see what it is that makes you so arrogant. Lin Xian took a step forward, and a sharp aura surged from his body. Facing Willow Lance, he was not afraid and was ready to fight at any time. Feeling Lin Xian's aura, the surrounding martial artists gasped. The aura was too terrifying. It was like a peerless divine sword being unsheathed. Everyone was shocked. What a sharp sword aura. As expected of someone invited by Miss Murong. He's really powerful. The people present were not weak. Although there was only one aura, they could still feel the terrifying energy contained in Lin Xian's body. Everyone was very excited. These two were considered top young experts. If they really fought, it would be an exciting battle. Oh, is someone going to fight? Let me take a look. At this moment, a laugh was heard. Then, a young man in luxurious clothes walked over from afar. He had a smile on his face and was laughing loudly as he walked over. Seeing that person, Ling breathed a sigh of relief. Originally, she was worried that Lin Xian and Lu Yil would be at a disadvantage if they fought. Now, it seemed that it would be fine. "Young Master Qingshu, you're here too," Linger said. The surrounding martial artists were all shocked. They did not expect Murong Qingshu to be here. This birthday banquet was organized by a high-ranking elder in the Murong family. Murong Qingshu was a direct descendant of this elder. In other words, Murong Qingshu was the young master of Crimson Crescent City. Therefore, his identity was also extraordinary. After knowing the identity of the other party, Lin Xian withdrew his sword aura and did not attack. On the other side, the Crimson Dragon said coldly to Lu Yil, "Brat, you're lucky. Otherwise, you would have been killed." It's really angry. These people are too despicable. They all deserve to die. Humph. Lu Yil snorted coldly as a terrifying light shot out from his eyes. Murong Qingshu strode over with a smile on his face. He said loudly, "Everyone, today is my ancestor's birthday banquet. Please give me some face and fight another day. When the time comes, I can invite all of my friends to witness the two of you. Since Brother Qingshu has spoken, I'll fight another day." Lu Yil turned around and smiled at Murong Qingshu. Then, he turned his head and looked at Lin Xian again. He said coldly, "Consider yourself lucky. I'll let you live for a few more days. Enjoy your last moments." Lu Yil looked down at Lin Xian like the Grim Reaper and announced his death. "Lu, if you dare to talk to me like that again, I'll kill you with my sword. I don't care who you are. Lin Xian was also angry. The other party was so aggressive and provoked him time and time again. Even a clay figurine would be angry, let alone him. He took a step forward, and the sword aura on his body became extremely sharp. It formed a sword ray that hung in the air. In the next moment, blood stopped flowing, and the cut quickly formed a scar. His eyes were bloodshot as he stared at Lin Xian like a wild beast. Brat, how dare you hurt me? I'll kill you. Lu Jiang roared angrily. His spiritual power suddenly erupted and wrapped around him like a ball of flames. Meanwhile, the sword mark on his palm quickly disappeared, and his entire palm returned to normal. What a powerful aura! The surrounding people exclaimed and kept retreating. It couldn't be helped. Lu Yiel's aura was too powerful. It was definitely the pressure of a fourth heaven venerable. Moreover, it wasn't an ordinary fourth heaven venerable. Lu Yiel's spiritual power pulsed like a divine flame. His eyes were cold as he stared at Lin Xian. Lin Xian snorted coldly. He stepped forward with his fingers like a sword and pointed forward. That was a warning to you. If you continue to cause trouble, it won't be as simple as a cut on your palm next time. If you don't believe me, you can try. Lin Xian's voice was like a sharp sword that shook the surroundings. Hearing that, the surrounding martial artists were all stunned as if they had seen a ghost. Who was Lu Yil? He was a genius martial artist from the Ryu family. Even Shen Yulong, a core disciple of the House of Kings, addressed him as brother. One could imagine how powerful Lu Yil was. And now, he was being scolded in public by a young man. It was a slap to his face. You're courting death. Lu Yil roared angrily and threw a punch. This punch was surging with spiritual power and shining brightly. It was like a demonic mountain that charged forward quickly. At this moment, Lu Yil attacked with all his might. He wanted to punch Lin Xian into a bloody mist. Lin Xian sneered and was not afraid. He waved his arm and quickly landed. At the tip of his finger, an icy blue aura bloomed and turned into an icy sword aura that quickly slashed forward. Along with it was a monstrous and terrifying icy aura. Boom! A deep sound was heard. Boundless icy aura spread out as if it was going to freeze the entire world. This sword was too powerful. It contained the power of the dragon sword soul and was extremely powerful. Once again, it forced Lu Yil to retreat. This time, Lu Yil's fist split open again and a terrifying crack appeared. Blood spurted out again, but this time, it was frozen into ice by the icy aura before it could fall to the ground. Is this what gives you the right to be arrogant? What a joke. Lin Xian sneered. Don't think that you can be arrogant just because you are a disciple of the Ryu family. Let me tell you, you are nothing in front of me. Lin Xian stood proudly with his black hair fluttering in the wind. At this moment, he was like a sword god looking down on his opponent. Previously, Lu Yil had looked down on him with an arrogant attitude. Now, he was going to return the favor. He wanted to let Lin Xian have a taste of being looked down on and looked down on. When the crowd saw this scene, their eyelids twitched and they were shocked. They did not expect Lin Xian to be so powerful. Furthermore, his attack power was too terrifying. Even Lu Yil was no match for him. There was no suspense in the fight unless Lu Yil used his martial soul and used all his strength. However, regardless of the final result, Lin Xian's name was engraved in everyone's heart. This was definitely a person who was more terrifying than Lu Yil. Lu Yil was so angry that his body trembled. His face was ferocious as he roared at the sky. Kid, after the birthday banquet, you and I will fight to the death. I will kill you with my own hands. He was too angry and too sullen. If they were not in Crimson Crescent City today and did not have to care about the Morong family's reputation, he would have used all his strength to kill Lin Xian. He would not be as sullen as he was now. However, he also decided that after the birthday banquet was over, he would kill Lin Xian in an extremely brutal way. You still dare to be stubborn? Looks like I didn't teach you a lesson. Lin Xian snorted coldly. He waved his arm again, and a stunning sword aura was released. It tore through the starry sky and slashed forward. Wasn't Lin Xian arrogant and insolent? Wasn't he looking down on everyone? Now, he was going to be even more insolent and arrogant than Lin Xian. He was going to completely destroy Lu Yil. Lu Yil's face was ferocious and his body trembled with anger. As a genius disciple of the Ryu family, he was usually respected. Even the core disciples of the House of Kings would call him a friend. He was never bullied by a kid like this. This was something that had never happened before. Chapter 10:12. Moreover, what made him even angrier was that he had been suppressed in front of everyone. This made him lose all his face. How was he going to show his face in the future? Xiao Xuanzi, well done. This is so satisfying. The Crimson Dragon cheered from the side. Who does he think he is? How dare he look down on us? How despicable. If Bin Huang still had his magic power, I would eat him up. The Crimson Dragon jumped up and down. He could not wait to eat Bin Huang Xuanzi up. Ling Er's mouth twitched slightly. She did not expect Lin Xian to be so powerful. Moreover, his attitude was even more decisive and arrogant. He was determined to defeat Lu Yil and ruin his reputation so that he would not be able to face everyone. After this battle, Lu Yil's reputation would be greatly reduced. Boom! Another dazzling sword chi, sharp to the extreme, like the Milky Way, quickly slashed down, causing Lu Lai to tremble all over as he continuously retreated. I'm going to kill you. Lu Yil finally could not take it anymore. His eyes were filled with madness. With a roar, the aura of his body suddenly erupted. Lu Yil finally could not take it anymore. He let out a long roar and his body emitted a terrifying light. He was going to fight to the death with Lin Xian. Why? You can't take it anymore? Come on then. If you dare to make a move, I'll cut you in half. Lin Xian's body was surrounded by sword aura. The tip of his finger emitted a dazzling sword light. He took a step forward and was about to brandish his sword aura. Stop! At this moment, Murong Qingshu, who was at the side, suddenly shouted coldly and stood between the two. His face was cold and his body was also emitting a terrifying aura. At the same time, his voice seemed to contain a calming force. Today is my ancestor's 800th birthday. I hope the two of you can restrain yourselves. His voice was cold and unquestionable. Little brother, I respect you as a guest of Qingcheng, so I've been holding back. But don't go too far. You should know that this is Crimson Crescent City, the home of the Murong family. No one can behave atrociously here. Murong Qingshu stared at Lin Xian, his voice cold. That's what you're saying. Lin Xian sneered. Didn't you see that he was the one who provoked me first? If he hadn't been so aggressive, I wouldn't have attacked him. No matter what, I'm a victim. I think you should blame him. Lin Xian shrugged and said indifferently. Humph. Lu Yil coldly shouted, Brother Qingshu, I'll give you face this time. After the banquet, I'll personally kill him. At that time, I hope you won't stop me. After that, he turned around and left with the Ryu family disciples. Linger, bring me to see Qingcheng, Lin Xian said. After that, he walked past Murong Qingshu, ignoring him. Obviously, Murong Qingshu and Lu Yil were on the same side. Otherwise, he wouldn't have spoken up for him. Since that was the case, there was no need for him to pay attention to him. Seeing this, Murong Qingshu's face darkened. He was a true disciple of the House of Kings and the young master of Crimson Crescent City. His status was noble, and no one dared to disrespect him. But now, a brat dared to ignore him. If he wasn't someone brought by Qingcheng, he would have thrown him out long ago. Brother, that brat is too despicable. I'll teach him a lesson. Beside him, a girl in a blue dress said in a low voice. This woman's appearance could be considered pretty, but her pair of eyes flashed with a cold light, making people feel extremely uncomfortable. Don't be rash. After all, he's someone brought by Qingcheng. We can't fight against Qingcheng now. Don't worry, I'll just teach him a lesson. I won't take his life. Seeing that Murong Qingshu didn't object, the girl sneered again and left quickly. When Lin Xian came to a hall, he realized that Murong Qingshu wasn't there. He was called away by the elders of the family to discuss something. Since he was bored, Lin Xian strolled around. Little brother, how should I address you? Why don't we get to know each other? Brother Lin, I'm so envious of you just now. Seeing that Lin Xian was strolling around alone, a few martial artists came up to chat. Although Lin Xian and Lu Yil didn't get along well with the Ryu family, not everyone here was friends of the Ryu family. There were also many enemies. So at this moment, these people seemed to have the intention of befriending Lin Xian. The few of them chatted harmoniously. At this moment, a disciple of Crimson Crescent City walked over and snorted. Isn't he just a disciple of Senmu College? Does he really think he's a big shot? How dare he make a move in Crimson Crescent City? How dare he? Yeah, he doesn't even care about Brother Qingshu. How despicable. If it wasn't for Miss Seductress, he probably wouldn't even be able to enter the banquet. Many disciples of Crimson Crescent City mocked him. At this moment, a girl in a water silk dress walked over and sneered. I heard that Lin Gongzi's name is well known in Senmu College. Now that I've met him, he really lives up to his name. Although you're a guest invited by Miss Seductress, you should have prepared a gift. I wonder what kind of gifted genius like you would have prepared. Why don't you take it out and let us see? Him? What gift can he take out? I don't think he prepared anything. So what if he prepared something? It's probably some trash that he wouldn't dare to take out. Several disciples of Crimson Crescent City sneered. Hey, you guys can't say that. No matter what, Brother Lin is still a genius of Senmu College. How could he be so poor that he can't even take out a gift? Morong Qin smiled and said, Don't underestimate Brother Lin. Do you know what kind of sword he's carrying on his back? That's a half-Earth rank artifact, the Lone Star Sword. What? A half-Earth rank artifact? Hearing this, the surrounding people were stunned. The few martial artists who were talking to Lin Xian also widened their eyes. They didn't know that the sword on Lin Xian's back was actually so precious. The disciples of Crimson Crescent City also looked at each other. They really didn't know that Lin Xian had a half-Earth rank artifact. However, Morong Qian's words shouldn't be false. For a moment, the way the crowd looked at Lin Xian changed. There was greed and jealousy in their eyes. It couldn't be helped. A half-Earth rank artifact was too precious. Even a core disciple of the House of Kings like Shen Yulong didn't have one. One could imagine how precious it was. Lin Xian frowned. The woman in front of him was acting strangely, trying to stir up trouble. It was obvious that she wanted to mock and frame him. It seemed that he hadn't shown enough strength. Otherwise, these people wouldn't have dared to provoke him. However, Lin Xian was here to attend the birthday banquet, and the other party was also a member of the Morong family. Therefore, Lin Xian couldn't act out. He sneered in his heart. He wanted to see what the other party wanted to do. Seeing that Lin Xian didn't speak, Morong Qian also sneered. Lin Gongzi, why be so stingy? Why don't you show us the gift? Could it be that Lin Gongzi really didn't prepare anything? At this point, Morong Qian covered her mouth with her jade-like hand. Looking surprised, you're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.